Driscoll here, and welcome back to another live stream. Today, we are finishing up Her Perfect Family by Teresa Driscoll. We have reached the final, technically 20 chapters of this book, and we are not going I'm going to have to take a few breaks here and there as we read the story, but I will not end the stream until we finish this book. It's been a hell of a ride, been a wild ride from the beginning to end, but we are finally ending it tonight. So, and on top of that, I also have the next book that I will be revealing as my next book I will be reading on a live stream. But that's for after we're done with this book. So, I will say after every 5 chapters, I will be taking a little break to deal with my wood burner that is out there at this point in time. But I do have a thing of tea in case I get thirsty while in between chapters. And I would like to reiterate again that I will not be able to read comments until after I end the chapter, so that way I don't get too easily distracted and lose my place. But I will read chat after every chapter ends. So, with that all said, let's begin with Chapter 50, The Private Investigator. It's nice, don't you think? Matthew is standing in the conservatory off the kitchen with its view of the sea. Waves roll in the distance, and a seagull watches them from the roof of the stone garage at the end of the garden. It's lovely. A good choice. Sally's tone is flat, her eyes worried. Matthew puts his arm around her waist. The seagull tilts its head. It's been a rush, fixing this. The packing. The journey. I'm so sorry about this. He tucks the hair behind her ear and takes in her profile. It's not your fault. I don't blame you. Sally's still looking out to sea, and Matthew wants to press rewind. To tell Mel, no, I'm really sorry, but I can't help with the case. The cottage in Porthleven has been booked for a week, to take them well past the final graduation ceremony tomorrow. It was a lucky find, a cancellation, and Mel said he can charge her to the force. Not an official safe house, but as expenses for his work on the case. Just a precaution, he told Sally, until we wrap this whole thing up. When are we going to the beach? Mommy says we can make sandcastles. They both turn to see Emily in the doorway, carrying a bright red bucket and yellow spade. They told her it's an extra holiday, a treat for being such a good, brave girl. Soon, honey. Sally brightens her tone for their daughter. Daddy has to go back to work, but we can do a quick trip to the beach before supper. Go and find your flip-flops. They're in the pink bag. Emily beams and then disappears into the hall. I don't deserve you. Matthew kisses Sally's cheek, but she still doesn't turn to look at him properly. This is true. She lets out a long sigh. Don't worry. I'll come round. It's just, I'm so tired. I honestly thought I knew what I was getting into. At last she turns. But I realize now that I didn't at all. She looks right into his eyes, and there's something in her expression that he can't quite read. It's hard to explain properly, she continues. Because I'm still working it out in my head. I just get scared. I do really love you. He can hear the but coming and wonders if he should just interrupt. Make his case, then he'll step back from the case. The job. Everything. But I don't love what you do. She pauses, looking at the floor, and anxiety is coursing through him. Don't say it. Don't say it, Sally. He reaches out to touch her cheek, as if touching her will stop her saying it. I do get that you're not who you are unless you do this. And I fell in love with you because of who you are. She takes in another deep breath and he finds that he's holding his own. So, here's what I think. You need to get back to Devon and do what you do best. I badly want this one to be over. I want you to find whoever's doing all this. She kisses him, and relief sweeps through him so fast that he feels almost lightheaded. Fast as you can. Promise me, Matt. I promise you. He holds her close. You're crushing me. Sorry. He eases the grip, but they stay locked. 10 seconds. 20. And then Sally steps back first, her eyes glistening as she tilts up her chin to regroup. She's still very afraid. He can see that. And Matthew cannot remember loving her more than he does in this moment. Finally, she signals with her head that they should move. They've agreed he'll drive straight back to Devon, spend the night at home so he can get some rest before liaising with Mel first thing tomorrow. Friday, the day of the final graduation ceremony. Matthew walks back into the kitchen and Sally follows, calling to Emily to come and say goodbye to Daddy. He picks up his keys from the kitchen table, trying not to focus on the worry jar, which Emily packed in a bright pink case, and which already has pride of place on the windowsill. He kisses them both again, promising ice cream sundaes on the seafront when he returns, and hurries away to his car, finding the hard knot in his stomach and tuning in to the local radio for traffic updates. He makes good time back to Devon and attempts an early night, but it's impossible. He sleeps badly and wakes early. He's never known a week like it, and is not looking forward to returning to Mainstay Cathedral today. A crack of dawn text from Mel suggests an early catch-up at the regular cafe. Already showered, he leaves straight away, expecting to arrive before her, but she's already on her second coffee as he slumps into the seat in their regular alcove. So you didn't sleep either? She shakes her head. It's D-Day, after all. The day they've both been dreading. Another ceremony. Why here? He asks. I thought that now I'm officially on the case we didn't need to sneak around. Matthew raises his hand to catch the eye of the waitress and orders a cappuccino. He glances around the room. He and Mel have met here for years, discreetly liaising on cases beneath the radar of Mel's colleagues. Dave's nose is a bit out of joint. I didn't want to rub salt in, especially today. I need him on side today. Mel finishes her drink and stacks it with the stained cup and saucer from her first round, pushing all the crockery to the edge of the table, ready for the waitress. Dave is Mel's sergeant who would normally lead on interviews. He's a good operator, and is still irked that his boss took over to interview Alex, with Matthew watching. I can handle Dave. Matthew smiles as the waitress sets down his drink, waiting for her to cross the room before continuing. So where are we at then? We're pretty sure from the enhanced CCTV that it was Laura at Emily's nursery. Grief. Matthew had expected this, but still feels a ripple of unease. I'm so sorry about the way that this has hit your family. I would never have asked if I had had any idea. I know. Matthew lifts his hand to signal she's not to fret. She looks away for a moment, then back at his coffee cup. I've got two of the team checking CCTV in Somerset after the Walls Cathedral postcard to Ed, and we may have picked her up there too. Wells? Yeah, a few days ago. The footage should be ready for review when we get back to the office. So what are you thinking? Laura back in the frame as a real suspect here? I don't know, really. I'll be happier when we get her in custody. Get a proper evaluation of her mental health. but I'm struggling to understand why she'd suddenly target Ed and his family after all these years. It feels a bit extreme to me. To fly to England out of the blue, shoot his daughter at her graduation? Why? And she wouldn't be able to get a gun through airport security. True, but we can't let that rule her out. She could have a contact here we don't know about. Matthew scratches the back of his head. And she may be too unwell for the motive to be rational. Do we have anything more on her medical condition? Not much. There seems to be a suggestion that her Capgras syndrome could be linked to schizophrenia, but it's a theory rather than a fact in Laura's case. Her files say she may occasionally have hallucinations. They've tried a variety of treatments, long spells at home, then back at the clinic, but they've never managed to stabilize her completely. The notes say she's been fixated recently on never having a family. She blames the fake Ed. I'm hoping to speak to her mother about that if she'll agree. The parents are divorced now. The father's remarried with a new family. That could be a trigger. Possibly. I'll check the timeline. Matthew lets out a long, slow breath. He's thinking of Laura standing at the perimeter of Emily's playground. Knowing she's ill should make it easier for him to be tolerant, but he's struggling. He looks at Mel. Her son is still very small, still not sleeping apparently. If it had been George. If he were older and it had been him. He holds Mel's gaze. I'd want blood. She tilts her head. You don't need to feel guilty for being mad, Matt, but I need you to harness that anger. Control it. I need to know you're okay. To go forward, I mean. Wanting blood in theory is one thing. I'm not going to do anything stupid. I know. I promise Sally I'm going to see this through. Fairly. Properly. Get the person behind all of this. Good. Then we're on the same page. And what's the latest on Alex? No more from forensics. We're rechecking the footage, placing him at the other end of the cathedral when Gemma was shot, and it seems genuine. No obvious sign of doctoring, but that's always a possibility. Also, Alex could have paid someone. That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? I agree. It would be unusual. But let's face it, this is a very unusual case. She pauses and closes her eyes. I should have canceled the final graduation, shouldn't I? Matthew doesn't answer. It's an afternoon ceremony and they're right up against it now. With hindsight, canceling was probably safer, but he knows what the political pressure's been like. The suits upstairs and the tourism chiefs all wanting signals that people are safe, that life must go on. And then Mel's phone goes and she lifts it from the table. Dave. Dave. Mel's eyes widen immediately as she puts the phone to her ear. Right. Area sealed off? She stands, pausing to take in the reply. And Soko there? Another pause. Good. Take charge until I get there. Text me the address. Reckon I'll be half an hour. I'll get Matthew Hill to meet us there. She listens some more, frowning. Get a photo of the wife, and a car registration on the system. Check family and friends. I want her found. Soon as. She ends the call and puts the phone in her pocket. Matthew's standing, pulling a note from his wallet to leave for the drinks. So? All the color has drained from Mel's face. Looks like we may have found the father of Gemma's child. Matthew waits, stomach tightening. Professor Sam Blake, one of Gemma's English tutors, been found. I completely butchered that. Professor Sam Blake, one of Gemma's English tutors, been found dead at his home. She fishes her car keys from her bag as Matthew widens his eyes for more details. Shot. Now would be the time where, if this was Law and Order, we hear the theme music, and I would love to play it, but unfortunately, copyright claims can be such a pain in the ass. Alright. Chapter 51. The Private Investigator. The pattern of the adrenaline is always the same. A surge on the journey to a crime scene and then another spike when you actually see the body. Matthew is both used to it and paradoxically surprised by it every time. A professional gear has always seen him through. In the years he was in the force and in his new business since. But always, deep down, there's that other less predictable response. The human response. Face to face with what one person can do to another. By the time he's suited and booted in the white crime scene paraphernalia, Matthew is perhaps 10 minutes behind Mel. From the hallway, he can hear her liaising with the crime scene manager. She's requesting backup from the same people who worked at the cathedral 9 days back. Mel glances down at the body on the floor as he takes it in for the first time. Told you it was a nasty one, she says. Nasty is not the word in Matthew's head. Rage is the word. He takes in the blood and the Halloween horror of the eye socket. The person who did this was, in the moment at least, full of anger beyond anything most people can imagine. Sam Blake had not been only shot. His head had been bludgeoned so that one side of his face is completely disfigured. The left eye socket smashed in. A truly grotesque mess. Oh, hashtag Sir Raid. Welcome, Raiders. You guys just pop in as soon as I talk about a crime scene in this book. What the heck? But welcome, Raiders. You got T.L. Baker, James Y.T., and the man, the myth, the legend himself, Sir Rolkenstein. I still find it funny how I happen to be talking about a crime scene in a bit of graphic detail, and a raid has come in. Gotta find it. The timing of it is what's funny about it. That's what it is. But Sir Rolkenstein, what did you do tonight, and how did it go? We also got Ethan Kua with the Sir Raid. Welcome, Raiders. Hope you guys have a good time, even if it's just for a little bit. Hear me reading this story. I will be looking up from time to time because I did ask Mr. Rolkenstein himself what he was streaming and how it went. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get right back into this book. Sorry, could you step left, please? Ahsoka, holding a camera, is trying not to sound impatient. Matthew moves. It's a large bedroom, thankfully, which makes this first assessment just a little easier. From the corner of the room, Matthew glances from the body and the blood-soaked rug beneath it to the bedside cabinet, which has a photograph of Sam beaming alongside a woman, presumably his wife. Matthew leans forward, narrowing his eyes. It's a holiday snap. Looks like Greece. Olive groves in the background. Hummus and tzatziki on the table in front of the couple. The professor was a good-looking man. Strong jawline, sandy hair, gray eyes. His wife's attractive too. Blonde, petite, and quite a bit younger. Shot first or hit first? Matthew asks. Not sure yet. With so much blood, hard to be sure. He'll have to wait for the post-mortem. Mel is looking at the far wall, the smart, expensive-looking wallpaper splattered with red. Matthew's eyes move to the blood-stained statue that lies alongside the body, presumably used to strike him. It's chunky, dark green. He looks around the room to see its partner still in place on the shelf just inside the door. Not a statue at all, but a heavy bookend in the shape of someone sitting and reading. The books, minus one of their supporters, are now sloping at an angle, too very close to falling from the shelf. So the attacker grabbed one bookend on the way in? But why do that if you had a gun? Alright, I'm back with playing Super Mario Maker 2. How did it go? And how did it go? How did your stream go? Matthew is trying to work out if this was someone who knew about the bookends, or would they catch a stranger's eye easily? He looks again at the body. There's a huge patch of blood soaking the pale blue shirt at the chest and the rug beneath. The gunshot wound. Sam Blake looks at least 6 foot fit. The position of the body suggests he was facing the door, so facing his attacker. Seems unlikely anyone would risk striking him first. No. Shot first, then hit. Matthew spends a few more minutes appraising the bedroom and then steps through the hallway into the room opposite. A chill runs instantly through him. It's a nursery in the making. The cot assembled, complete with mobile. The chair is set up in the corner as if ready for nursing, but the rest of the room is a work in progress. In the corner there are 2 large boxes, the labels confirming flat-pack furniture. One's clearly a changing station with drawers. A mat covered in brightly colored animals is leaning alongside, still in its plastic wrapping. An image flashes into his mind of Emily on her changing mat when she was tiny. Skinny legs kicking in frustration. Pugh's face furious at his fumbling. Sally, help me. I can't get the new nappy on. He pushes the image away as Mel walks past him. Meet you outside when you're ready, Matt? Sure. What do we know about the wife? Lily Blake. 15 years younger. Missing, she says. I put the call out. Pregnant? Yes. Mel pauses, staring right into Matthew's eyes. 6 or 7 months according to the neighbor. She's not been seen for a while. I've sent Dave round to the parents. They live nearby. Well, good to hear. Good to hear. As long as you had a good time, that's all that matters. Outside, as he waits for the full update from Melanie, Matthew stands across the street, taking in the red brick suburban semi with its hydrangea and cluster of rose bushes. There's a hanging basket, well kept, watered regularly. He's trying to imagine it. What exactly went on inside here today? Mel is still liaising with the uniformed officers who arrived on the scene first. House-to-house inquiries have started, and neighbors say the couple had been volatile in recent months. Loud arguments. But no one heard a gunshot. The cleaner found him. She's still in shock, having cups of tea in a neighbor's house, giving her preliminary statement. Social media means news travels fast these days, and Matthew's not surprised to see a car pull up behind the cordon with the logo of a local news group. He's never understood why the media do that. Label themselves. Wouldn't they want to be discreet? It occurs to him that maybe they use different cars for different jobs. Maybe this is from the advertising department? Who knows? Whatever the case, he's remembering the car park drama with Alex and suspects a local TV crew will be along very soon too. It's going to be a nightmare once journalists realize the victims from the university. Today of all days. Matthew feels his phone vibrate in his pocket and takes it out to see another text from Amanda. Can you tell me anything yet? What about the graduation? Damn. Sorry, not yet. He presses send. He'll ask Mel to call the chancellor. They'll probably need to make a joint statement, but it will depend if the wife's found quickly, whether she can immediately be ruled out or as a suspect, ruled in or out as a suspect. In effect, whether they need to put out an appeal to find her. Matthew's thinking again of the nursery inside the house. He remembers so well Sally's clucking and fussing and worrying in the final days of her pregnancy. She wouldn't put the mobile up above the cot, was worried it would be bad luck. Tempting fate. He presses the speed dial and puts the phone to his ear. Is everything okay? Sally sounds alarmed, but it's so good to hear her voice. Yeah, I'm safe. But things have changed. You mustn't share this yet, honey. But there's been another shooting. Someone from the university. Oh no. Are you wearing your jacket? Your bulletproof jacket? Yes, I am. This is a lie, and he feels a pang of guilt. It's in his rucksack in the boot. He finds it uncomfortable and had no idea today it would take this turn. I'm at the scene. I'm safe, but it will probably be on the news soon. But listen, they're bound to up security even more now. At the hospital, the cathedral. I'm wondering if we should rethink security for you at the cottage, just as a precaution. He tries to keep his voice steady, but his heart rate is increasing, thinking of Emily on that changing mat a few years back, of the doll delivered to their house, the woman, Laura probably, at the school, of the horrible way his family has been sucked into this. But we were so careful. The hire car, surely no one knows where we are. Matthew pauses. Sally's right. They were incredibly careful and it should be fine. Should be. My gut says it's fine, but have a think and let me know how you feel about it. I'll talk to Mel after we process the scene. It's a bit hectic right now. I'll have to go. How's our princess? I'll send you a picture. You promise you'll be careful? And keep that jacket on. I promise. Love you. He hangs up and is about to put the phone back in his pocket when a ping signals a text. He opens it. A picture of Emily, beaming on the beach, the bright red bucket in one hand, the yellow spade in the other. From Sally. Be careful. We love you. X. He'll book the security. Sod it. He'll just book the bloody security and tell Sally that Mel insisted. Sorry, love. Procedure. Matthew clenches the phone in his hand to feel the connection, all the while watching Mel in the drive of the house, talking to two of the uniformed officers. A huddle of neighbors just beyond the cordon is being approached by a reporter from the media car. Here we go, Matthew thinks, his brain sucked back from Cornwall, from the beach, from Emily and Sally. He scans the scene, still gripping the phone as he looks up and down the road, checking for CCTV cameras, trying to process the surprising turn in this case before he gets a chance to properly talk to Mel. She would see what she thinks. So have they got it all wrong? Is this not about Alex or Laura? Alex is still in custody. And how the hell would Laura even know about Gemma and this professor? So is this actually more straightforward? The jealous rage of a betrayed wife? Did Sam's wife... Shut up, flea, whatever the hell that's buzzing around. Shut up. Did Sam's wife find out about Gemma? Was it simply all too much with the pregnancy? But would a jealous wife take a gun to a cathedral and shoot someone in broad daylight? Would she? Could she? Matthew thinks again of the body in the bedroom. That smashed-in eye socket. The evidence of white-hot rage. Then he calls up the image of the holiday photograph beside the bed. The smiling face of the petite Lily, tanned and holding up her glass of wine glinting in the sunlight. He's not wondering if she could be capable of this. The heavy bookend in her hand. Smashing. Obliterating. He's seen enough of the darker underbelly of life to park any surprise quickly, to stop questioning what ordinary people are capable of. What he's wondering about is the gun. If this really is down to a tortured wife, he'd expect something more domestic. A kitchen knife. A spur-of-the-moment lashing out. But a gun? It's always been a puzzle to everyone on this case, Matthew especially, that Gemma was shot. Firearms are the terrible are the territory of drugs, crime, and gangs, not domestics. And how the hell would nice middle-class Lily even get a gun? Oh. Hello, Xavier. How you doing tonight? I didn't quite get that last mess. I didn't see that last message. I don't know what that was about, but okay then. Alright, so I'll be reading up to chapter 55, and then I'll take a little break. But like I said, I'm going to be reading the rest of the story tonight, and I will not be ending the stream until we get this done. Alright, we get this book done. Chapter 52. The Daughter Before. Discuss the theme of parental responsibility and neglect in relation to the novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Don't know why I'm bothering with the fake essay headlines. It's official. Said I love your reading. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Oh yeah, by the way, when it comes to what Matthew is thinking about in that last bit, there is one song that there's one thing that popped into my head as soon as I finished reading that bit. There is a song that was originally sung by country music singer Garth Brooks, titled The Thunder Rolls. It garnered a bit of controversy in itself, because because you have the two verses, and then, the chorus, like you had the first verse and the chorus, and the second verse and the chorus, and then the chorus one more time. What people may or may not know is that there was a third verse in the song that he does sing, that he has sung whenever he's doing a live performance of said song, that you could also find on at least one cover of the song. I would have to look it up. I have it on my playlist. I'll talk about it here. I'll show it later. But the third verse basically goes like this. She runs back down the hallway, past through the bedroom door. She reaches for the pistol kept in the dresser drawer. Tells the lady in the mirror he won't do this again, because tonight will be the last night she'll wonder where he's been. And if you watch the music video of that song, she does shoot at him because she has reason to believe in her mind that he was cheating on her. And so that's what she does in the song. She basically shoots him because of what he's done to her, making her feel so much heartbreak. Now, whether that may be overkill or not is up to just anybody, but I just thought that'd be necessary to talk about. So I'm going to repeat that paragraph I was just on because of what I just said. Don't know why I'm bothering with the fake essay headlines. It's official. No more essays. And for a blink at least, I hardly care if A is hacking me. Guess what? I got my first! Results came through about 10 minutes ago, and for a blissful moment, it really did make me forget everything. I phoned home, and Mom and Dad are all over the moon. Neighbors must have heard Mom shriek for miles. It was lovely, actually, for those few brief minutes on the phone, to hear Mom so happy. I've only ever wanted Mom and Dad to be proud of me. But when I finished the call, I just looked at the phone and the tears came again. And it's horrible, realizing that the good feeling can't last. I've had to lie to them about why I'm hanging around until the graduation ceremony. I told them it's to do with the flat lease and helping out to cover a mate's job in a coffee shop. Felt terrible, but I just can't face going home yet. Look at me, a complete hormonal mess already. I'm afraid I'll just break down. Can't even bear to mention what's happened with that adoption idea. Talk about a wrong steer. Not even legal, I've discovered since. And the advice I was being given? Very, very dodgy. I'm distancing myself now, but it's all going horribly pear-shaped. And the worst thing of all is, I think I may have been wrong about who's been targeting me. My social media and everything. I've got this truly horrible feeling it might actually be someone connected with the snake's wife. There's been this woman watching me around the campus. Not his wife herself, but someone a little bit older. And I'm starting to wonder if she's a friend of hers or something. I had this sort of weird feeling of being watched a few times. I put it down to yet more paranoia at first, and then this one day I caught the woman's reflection in the glass door of the coffee shop on campus, so I was able to watch her without her realizing. I pretended to wave at someone inside the shop at the counter, and she was definitely eyeballing me. And it's happened again since. She carries a magazine or a paper and sits on benches and stuff, but every time I move, she moves. I'm sure I'm not imagining it. So if it is someone put up to it, I mean, by us as wife, I really don't know what to do. Maybe I should just confront her. Walk up to her and have it out. What the hell do you think you're doing? Why are you watching me? Problem is, the messages are so weird. He's not who he says he is. Is that message really something his wife would write? If she's found out about us, I mean. I suppose she might mean he's not genuine. Maybe she thinks I believe he's single or properly separated. But I can't help wondering. Surely she'd just write something angry, bitchy, more direct. I'm trying really hard to just ignore it all, to concentrate on getting through the graduation and how the hell I'm going to tell mom and dad afterwards about the baby. But every time I pull myself together, I get more DMs. More and more. I keep thinking about karma, that I brought all of this on myself. I mean, a fling with a married man. What was I thinking? Maybe the bottom line here is actually very simple. I deserve all of this. Chapter 53. Chapter 53. The Mother. My eyes hurt nearly all the time now. Ed says I'm not blinking enough, that I've developed the habit of staring at Gemma, afraid to close my own eyes even for a nanosecond in case I miss her waking up. The hospital atmosphere is dry enough, to be frank, so it's small wonder this is making it worse. I tried putting drops in my eyes to soothe the itching, and I pointedly look away from Gemma as often as I dare to try to prove to Ed that I'm not obsessing. It's a wasted effort. I am obsessing, and he knows it, but we're trying to be kinder to each other, to get past the lies, the half-truths, and the strain, and to put all our effort into Gemma now. It's more than 24 hours since she opened her eyes, and there's been no change since. The doctor came to talk to us last night. He confirmed it's a good sign, but there's no way of knowing if she's about to wake up for sure. They're monitoring her even more closely, but we just need to carry on waiting. I didn't sleep much. Never do. So I've already read her 2 more chapters of The Mill on the Floss, but my voice is croaky. The tiredness, I guess. So I popped the headphones back on with some gentle music. I do hope she can hear it. I reach out to sip my coffee, badly needing the caffeine, but it's still scorching. Ed's standing at the window of our cubicle, looking out onto the main ward. He has asbestos fingers and an asbestos tongue, and is drinking his own coffee without even wincing. That's odd, he says suddenly. Have you noticed they seem to be moving the other patients out? At first I wonder what he means. We're used to patients being moved in and out. This has always seemed to be some kind of transitionary unit between theater and the main wards. It may be overflow. The number of other patients varies from day to day. I've even heard some visitors mumble complaints about being in the same space as Gemma once they spot the guard. Is it safe? Do we have to be here? The nurses always reassure them and no one seems to stay here long, but there tend to be 2 or 3 other patients overnight. Ed looks really puzzled, and so I stand up to get a better view over Gemma's head. He's right. The 2 beds opposite are already empty, but the remaining beds, with patients in situ, are being wheeled out by porters with staff juggling the drips and paraphernalia. This much bustle hasn't happened before. So many moved out on the same day. You're right. There's something going on. My voice is low and I can feel anxiety creeping back into my stomach. Ask the police guard, or one of the nurses. We can both see that our guard is on his radio. Ed moves to the door, opens it, and calls out to one of the nurses. Excuse me, can you tell us what's happening? She looks flustered, glancing at the police officer. Probably best to speak to the police. Just a precaution. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about. The guard hears this and lifts his hand to signal for us to wait a moment before turning away to continue talking on his radio. Infuriatingly, we can't hear what he's saying. I'm remembering the horrible scene that Alex caused. The shooting and the smashed glass. The shouting and the smashed glass. But Alex is in custody. Surely they won't give him bail again. Do you think this is about Laura? They said she's in the country. You don't think they suspect she's coming here, do you? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Ed's still in the doorway, one arm now craned over the top of his head as he waits. As the last police officer turns to us, gesturing for us to move back into the cubicle together, he shuts the door. Can I ask if you've let anyone know about Gemma's condition? About the fact she opened her eyes yesterday? I texted a friend. I don't tell him who. Wonder why he wants to know. Well, not texted. I told her on WhatsApp. Why? Could you please message her now to keep that confidential? Did you tell anyone else? No. I feel flustered and confused as I take my phone from my pocket and fumble a quick message, trying not to sound too desperate. Just an issue of confidentiality, not wanting the media to know. When I finish, the officer signals for us to sit, but I shake my head. Please, just tell us what's happening. Is it Laura? Ed's ex-wife? I can't say who's involved, but there's been a shooting that may be connected to the attack on Gemma. His expression is grave. It's procedure to up the security. They may be sending an armed guard, just until they assess where we are. They think someone might come here? With a gun? No one's saying that, but it's a live situation. I'm just telling you what I know. You mustn't share this. Already lose on the possibility of Gemma waking up. You understand? I nod, my mouth gaping as my head moves involuntarily. Can we speak to D.I. Sanders? She's overseeing things at the moment, but I'm sure she'll want to update you personally when we know more. That's why they're moving the other patients. They think someone might come here. With a gun? That's why they're moving the other patients. They think someone might come up here. With a gun? No, I didn't say that. Well, we want to lock this unit down as a precaution. Once the other patients are out, the unit will in effect be out of bounds. Staff passes only. D.I. Sanders' orders. Okay. Thank you. Ed's tone is steadier than mine as he turns, but I notice that both his hands are in tight fists. I look at him and have never been so afraid. It occurs to me that someone mad enough to shoot Gemma in broad daylight might take someone hostage, like a human shield, to get in here. A nurse? A porter? Suddenly, no amounts of security feels enough. Suddenly, I have this horrible picture in my brain of a member of the hospital staff, gun to their head, being marched right down the center of this ward. Go ahead and take a drink. I'm gonna go eat dinner. Bye. I'll be right back. Alright, Xavier. Have a good, enjoy your dinner. Have a good, enjoy your dinner, and I'll see you when you get back. Chapter 54. The Private Investigator. Everything's moving so fast that Matthew feels the familiar rush of blood and energy as he drives. He's praying this isn't another wrong steer. His gut's telling him it's just too strong a coincidence, and he has to drill down to the bottom of this as fast as he can. For Mel's sake. She's still at the crime scene and they're up against the clock. He checks the time on his dashboard. Nearly 10 a.m. Please be in. Please be in. The village near Exeter's an odd choice for a PI's office. A bit quiet. But Wendy March is an odd kind of PI. He's never much liked her. A maverick at best. And the thought of her being wound up in all of this and failing to come forward is both infuriating and soul-destroying. No wonder PIs get bad press. Wendy's card has just been found at Sam Blake's home among the wife Lily's clothes. It was tucked in the pocket of a raincoat that looked as if it had been worn recently. Further inspection suggests the wife recently packed some of her clothes. This fits with neighbors' suggestions that she may not be around for a little while. It was Wendy who Matthew saw at the university campus. As soon as he shared this with Mel, she was furious. Dispatched him to speak to Wendy face to face. Bring her in if you need to. I want everything she knows. There's parking near the office, thankfully, and Matthew finds coins in the glove compartment to avoid a fine. The office is above a pastry shop of all things, and is with a separate entrance. As he rings the bell, Matthew wonders how it will compare with his own office. Come on, answer. It feels strange to be turning up at a rival's place. Correction, not a rival. Wendy is a different kind of PI altogether. Her website is all about the money and all about the matrimonials. The very work Matthew hates. She even offers a lie detector test. Classy. At last the buzz on the door sounds and he climbs stairs a good deal less steep than his own to find no second door at the top. Just a small open plan office. Wendy March is on the phone but stands the minute she spots him, making apologies to her caller and ringing off. Matthew Hill? What are you doing here? I'm here on behalf of D.I. Sanders. Matthew pauses, not wanting to give away too much yet about the new crime scene. We're investigating the attack on Gemma Hartley. Mrs. Hartley gave you my name? Wendy looked shocked. Matthew's equally shocked. No, she didn't. His mind does a somersault as he tries to regroup. Rachel Hartley wasn't pressed for the name of the PI she used to investigate her husband, Ed. As nothing was found, it was unimportant. It wasn't important. So you were the PI that Rachel Hartley hired? Isn't that why you're here? Hold on. No, it's not. What do you know of Lily Blake? Are you working for her too? I might be. What's it to you? Wendy now looks less assured, her neck starting to redden, the blush moving up toward her chin like color soaking on litmus paper. My work with my client is confidential. We aren't all in the pockets of the police. She widens her eyes, cocky expression despite the flush. A girl's in a coma with part of her leg gone. Anyone with any decency and any information has a duty to come forward. I have no idea why you wouldn't see that, Wendy. And why were you at the university the other day? I'm going to ask you to leave. If D.I. Sanders wants to speak to me, she can do that herself. You have no jurisdiction here. No problem. He takes out his phone. I'll get a uniformed officer here to arrest you. Marked cars, flashing lights, all the neighbors watching. On what possible grounds? Matthew looks away to the window and decides to gamble. Hell, it'll be on the news any moment anyway. There's been another attack, linked to the Gemma Hartley case we suspect. It's all going to ask you again. Are you working for Lily Blake? The collar from Wendy's neck moves right up to her chin. Has she been hurt? No, but we need to find her urgently. Matthew takes in Wendy's expression. She doesn't know he's pretty sure of that. Her husband's dead, Wendy. Sam Blake's been shot. Dead? Wendy's shock is clearly genuine, the blush fading and her face taking on an altogether paler tone. All her capillaries apparently in overdrive. I'm sorry. I need to sit down. So you found out her husband was cheating? Gave her the evidence? Matthew moves closer to her desk. Yes, but this isn't my fault. This is what I do. What clients ask me to do. Never mind about fault. Just start talking, Wendy. I need to know the timeline. What exactly you found, and where Lily might be now. She's not with her parents. Do you have any idea where she is? Chapter 55. Hold on a second. Alright, so after this chapter, I'm going to take a little break just to deal with my supper. Or, not my supper, my wood burner. Chapter 55. The Father Now. Ed presses the buttons on the coffee machine and watches, in a daze, as the sequence begins. He's so tired. His mind still on the ward, taking in Rachel's exhausted face, and as the first cup fires into position and the flow of hot liquid begins, he realizes that he's got the order wrong. Too distracted. He's pressed for 2 cappuccinos. Damn. Rachel wanted black. Truth is, he didn't want to leave the unit at all, but Rachel was getting in such a state. Another shooting? The day of the final graduation. They can't believe it. Rachel wants him to quietly check the corridor. The lockdown security. See if there's an armed presence, Ed. See if there are proper checks on the door. Please. Rachel looks completely done in and he wonders how much more she can take. He's found out from the nurses that she never uses the relatives' room to rest. A lump forms in his throat as he thinks of what a good mother she's been. Has always tried to be. Despite what she went through herself as a child. Maybe precisely because of what she went through as a child. He genuinely had no idea about her father, the drinking and the violence, and wonders why Rachel's mother has never said anything either. Their joint secret. All these years. Their blanked past. He keeps rewinding the scenes and watching through a new lens. All those times it drove him mad to see Rachel dismiss Gemma to her room to try to calm her down. Always shutting conflict down with her babbling and her baking. Oh, Rachel. The guilt of Laura is like this cancer growing inside him now. If he's wrong, if Laura is in any way connected with what has happened, he will never forgive himself. Ed watches the second cup zoom into the position beneath the second spout. He'll have to find somewhere to pour one away. Order a third? He badly wants to get back to the unit and feels a shiver of unease. He waits for the drips to cease and then puts one of the coffees on the ledge to the side of the machine so he can order Rachel's black one. Again, the machine revs into action while Ed takes his phone from his pocket. He's already tried to speak to D.I. Sanders. That's the real reason he caved and stepped out. He's feeling angry on top of his guilt, seeing his wife so very upset. Never mind how busy D.I. Sanders is. Why hasn't she phoned? They need to know what's going on. Ed starts to scroll for D.I. Sanders' number and for the first time notices the date in the correction of the screen. He pauses and stares. And suddenly, it hits him. Friday the 26th. It's all been so much lately that he'd lost track of days. Never mind dates. But as it dawns, he feels disoriented. For a second, he's not here at all. He transported back in time. Laura frowning as she places two alternative versions of their wedding invitation on the breakfast bar in front of him. Which one do you think? I went classy. I think I prefer the cream with the gold, but I'm not sure. The printer needs a decision today, otherwise we'll lose our place in his glue. How could he forget this? Not think of the date. Notice the date. Excuse me, but have you finished? Ed turns to find a woman waiting behind him for the coffee machine. He almost tells her to push off, but just stops himself. Sorry. Distracted. He grabs the two coffees and casts around for somewhere to put them down safely, all the while frantically doing maths in his head. A chair's the only option. He hubs his annoyance, placing the two cups down near the center of the seat, but it's not flat, and one cup tips instantly, spraying hot coffee everywhere. Oh, sod it. Ed leaves the mess, the woman at the machine touting loudly as he takes out his phone to dial D.I. Sanders. It goes to voicemail, so he rings Matthew Hill, the PI he went to see, who's now working as Mal's sidekick, which Ed doesn't quite understand. Don't the police have their own people? Matthew Hill. Matthew, it's Ed Hartley. I can't get hold of D.I. Sanders and something's just occurred to me. She asked if there might be a trigger. For Laura, my ex-wife. I hope you're not going to just leave that. The woman from the coffee machine has walked right up to Ed, leaning in to confront him. Look, could you just mind your own... What did you say? Matthew's tone is confused. Sorry, not you. Someone at this end. Oh, right. Go on. Well, there might be a trigger for Laura. I don't know why. I didn't think of it before. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead, take a little break. I will be right back to read chapter 56. So, be right back. Take a little extra drink for tea, because why not? Okay, I have returned. Alright. Alright. I have returned. Just realized my camera is a little bit out of whack, but I fixed it just now. Let's continue. Chapter 56. The Private Investigator. Matthew punches in the search to his set-nav. An hour and a half. Damn. Mel will need to send a local unit, but he wants to be there too. In fact, he wants to lead on this. He'll ask them to wait for him. I'm sorry, Wendy, but I'm going to have to make a detour. Emergency. He carries on round the roundabout, and while the set-nav recalculates, then takes the right exit. So where are we going now? I thought we were going to the station to wait for your boss. I have work I should be doing, you know. Matthew doesn't answer, but instead is doing the calculation in his head. He should make it to Wells just after 11 a.m. if the traffic's okay. Doable. It's a long shot, but the best use of his time while Mel focuses on finding Sam's wife, and he wants to be the one who brings Laura in. He thinks again of her standing at the railings by Emily's school, handing her the note. I asked you a question, Wendy's curt, her arms crossed. Okay, start talking and I might answer. Tell me everything you told Lily about her husband. Everything. We need to find her. Matthew's head is practically bursting with the possibilities of Laura or Sam's wife, or Alex hiring someone. What the hell is really going on with this case? Tell me first where we're going. Tell me first where we're going. Detour to Wells. That's bloody miles. You can't just kidnap me. Let me out. Sorry, no can do. We're on a dual carriageway, and it'll take too long. You need to help me out here, so cut the victim out. The victim act. You know full well you should have checked in with the police the minute Gemma's name was released. Wendy stares again out of the passenger window. People don't trust you if you go running to the police. My clients like to be sure everything we do is confidential. I have the right to make a living. Matthew bites his tongue. Wendy was never in the force. She came to PI work via security. Has a whole different take. It's a waste of time arguing with her. Out comes the issue now. Also time. Wendy's another pair of eyes. You might not rate her moral compass, but word is she's very good at what she does. She probably has more undercover hours under her belt than any backup he can get at short notice for this. Fact is, she just might be useful if you can get her to cooperate. It's all a long shot, but if Ed is right and Laura's going back to the cathedral for their anniversary, they're going to need a very careful approach. They have no way of knowing if Laura is armed, just how dangerous she may be. Mel might want to clear or close the cathedral, but Matthew doubts they'll have time or a mandate for that at such short notice on a hunch. He'll just have to keep this as low-key as possible. Bad news is Laura knows what he looks like. Must have checked his website and address to reach him through Emily. He could request an undercover female officer to assist, but no time. The fallout will be horrendous if they get this wrong. Last thing they need is another scene at in a cathedral. How do you fancy helping me bring in a key suspect? It's a long shot. Might be a wild goose chase. But if it comes off, you'll get all the brownie points from the DI. She'll probably stop talking about charging you for obstructing the inquiry. She can't charge me. Don't be ridiculous. I haven't done anything. You failed to tell us that Gemma Hartley was key in one of your marital cases. D.I. Sanders is not happy. Wendy narrows her eyes, then turns to him. Okay, I might help. Good. But first tell me again about what you passed on to Lily. Wendy talks him through it. How Lily Blake was sick of rumors about her husband and wanted to know one way or the other. She hired Wendy to find out. It didn't take long. Wendy discovered he was seeing two students, Gemma Hartley, and more recently a mature student, late 20s, studying politics. That's why she was back at the campus, updating on the latest affair. She supplied picture evidence to the Wife Weekly, got paid, and thought no more of it until Gemma Hartley was shot. She said even then she was sure it couldn't be anything to do with Lily. A timid personality, also heavily pregnant. Matthew remained shocked that Wendy didn't contact the police. He returns briefly to him but parks his outrage. Needs must. She'd better be as good as he's heard. Right. This is this long shot. I should be completely transparent here. He pauses. I'll request backup, but we may not get it, and there's a small chance our target could be armed. Chapter 57. The Daughter Now. Well, when was the last time we had that be a title for a chapter? Too long. You know what? Let me see, actually. Yeah, the last time we had it. Literally, the only other time we had this happen was all the way back to chapter 4. Yeah, 53 chapters ago. Chapter 57. The Daughter Now. She's tired of it all. This strange place. This unending sleep. Stuck by the ocean. She wants so badly to wake up in her bedroom, at home with the fairy lights wound around the bedhead, and all the books on their shelves on the opposite wall. Color-coded. Spines aligned. She can picture the room so clearly in her head, but she can't make it there. Can't even make herself dream about it. Instead, she wakes always to the sound of the sea, soft and whispering. But she's not awake, is she? That's the cruelty of it here. Every time she opens her eyes, she's trapped in the same limbo. The same dream? The only new thing is that sometimes now there are distant voices too, as if coming from the sky. One time, it was like an audiobook playing on the breeze. When she listened more closely, it sounded like her mother's voice as the narrator. Strange. Impossible. She felt her ears for earbuds and her pocket for a phone to turn up the volume, but there was no phone. So where was it coming from? She called out, "Turn it up, I can't quite hear." But no one answered, so she closed her eyes and strained to keep very, very still, to listen. Familiar words, familiar names. Maggie Tulliver, the mill on the floss. It took her back to school, reading in the library at lunchtime, and she felt a shiver, remembering how the story ends it so badly, so sadly. She thinks again of the sea, always stretching so far in front of her those dreams, waves rolling in the distance. Sometimes she wonders if she's supposed to swim. Is that it? But she's afraid of the currents and the riptides. She remembers her mother at the beach when she was little. Watch the flags. There are riptides. And she thinks again of Maggie Tulliver. The water. Sinking down, down. She wants so badly to go home, but she just can't work out how. She still can't feel one of her legs properly, as if she slept on it awkwardly. She waits for the feeling to return, but how can she swim meantime? Will her arms alone be strong enough? In the last dream or waking, or whatever this is, when she opened her eyes, there was this huge flash of light in the sky. Not blue, not clouds, just this huge expanse of blinding light. She must, by mistake, have looked straight into the sun. It hurt, and so she closed her eyes. And then, in the darkness, she felt that lovely thing again, warmth on her skin, like the soft spray from the sea on her forehead. Only somehow she knows that it isn't the sea mist. Suddenly she aches for her mother, for the voice on the breeze, and she misses her so very, very badly that it physically hurts deep inside her. She wants to cry, but can never find any tears. The fact that I'm almost done with the book, we're not even 2 hours into it, almost about an hour and a half. Chapter 58, The Private Investigator. Nearing the cathedral, Matthew pulls into a parking lot as his phone rings. Mel. I've got a uniformed team there, but no armed response. I'm not happy. Think we should leave it to the locals. They can lead us with the cathedral. Wendy and I have a plan. We can do this, Mel. Wendy? No way. I don't want that woman anywhere near this, Matthew. Have you gone mad? Mel, you have to trust me. We talked it through on the drive. If Laura is there, she'll respond to her. I know she will. This will work. Laura must know what I look like. Wendy's our best bet. If Laura sees uniforms, she could panic. Matthew thinks of the message in the note given to Emily, now in the forensics lab. You have to help me, Matthew. No one believes me. He's not who he says he is. Did you get through to Laura's mother? Yes, and she confirms that Laura's been talking about the anniversary. Silver wedding. Obsessing again about finding the real Ed. But she didn't take it seriously. Right, so this could be more than a hunch? There's a very long pause during which Matthew gets out of the car and moves to his boot. He signals to his backpack and Wendy nods. He watches her take out his bulletproof vest and take off her jacket to put it on underneath. He's worried it will show, but thankfully Wendy's jacket has a high collar. Any progress with Sam's wife? Matthew checks his watch as he moves off. Wendy following as she buttons up her jacket. 11 o'clock. They need to move. Her car's been picked up on motorway cameras. We're on it. Local car tailing. Good. That's good. So will you message Uniform to let me take charge of this here? Please, Mel. I've got this. There's another pause. I want you both in vests. Do you have a spare? Yes. Another lie. But it needs to be there too, albeit out of sight. He's thinking of Emily, the doll with the bleeding eyes. Laura at the school boundary. He needs this to be over. We need clearance from the cathedral. We need clearance of the cathedral. There isn't time, Mel. Laura couldn't get away. I can't have the public put at risk. If Laura's about with a gun in her bag, they're already at risk. I can handle this, Mel. I'll keep everyone else away. Keep it nice and calm. It's risky, Matt. Look, you need to trust me. Message Uniform to stay out of sight, and let me know where they are. And can you tell them they answer to me? Can you do that? Okay. She pauses. Matt, good luck. Matthew releases a breath and can feel his adrenaline pumping. Wendy has a good plan, but if it backfires, it will be Mel's head on the block. He puts his phone back in his pocket and updates Wendy as they head to the cathedral. There's a market en route, a lot of people about. He remembers the chaos at the graduation ceremony. Everyone running. So our target wanted them to come back here for their anniversary? Wendy is now taken in the cathedral. Yes, as I say, a long shot. But if she turns up, we need to keep her inside the cathedral until we are sure she's not armed. Wendy nods. Not too late to change her mind. He turns to look at her. To be clear, he means this. I'm fine. Let's get this done. Matthew moves off again. I wish to God she didn't know what I look like. I'll have to keep back with uniformed. Keep your phone line open in your top pocket. I need to know the moment you have her bag. I know what I'm doing. Wendy sounds a little cocky, but Matthew can see that in truth she's a little nervous, which is no bad thing. She needs to be cautious, not overconfident. Once they reach reception in the shop, Matthew moves behind a display, and Wendy directs a member of staff to speak to him. Are the police on the premises? My name is Matthew Hill. You should have had a call from my inspector? Yes. The woman looks very worried. We're trying to get hold of the verger to handle this. I don't have the authority. Please don't be alarmed. We haven't got much time. I'm going to keep everyone safe, but we need to make an arrest as discreetly and as quickly as we can. Have you canceled the midday tour? Yes. We're telling people he's off sick. But like I said, I need to speak to someone more senior. No time. Just don't allow anybody else through. Unless there's a woman with the long curly hair. Like this. He takes out his phone to show her the picture of Laura. She can go through if she turns up. No one else. Understood? The woman picks up the phone, clearly concerned about protocols. Where are the officers? Through there. She points. Thank you. Matthew turns to Wendy. I'm going to speak to them. Keep your phone line open like I said. You got enough battery? What do you think I am, an amateur? Of course I've got enough battery. Does the vest show? Matthew shakes his head, still wishing he could step up himself. She may not even turn up. Wendy shrugs and heads off through the cathedral to get into position near the clock. Matthew retreats to the center of the cathedral, out of sight, to brief the two uniformed officers who've been discreetly asking visitors to leave, allegedly for a staff fire drill. Fortunately, it's quiet. Just a few tourists who leave without a fuss. Now, they have to wait. Chapter 59. The Father. Now. Ed puts the two coffees on the bedside cabinet and turns to Rachel. Sorry I was so long. Spilled the first coffees. Stupid of me. But I just spoke to the police. There's a lot going on apparently. They hope it will be over soon. Ahead of the ceremony, I mean. Rachel still looks terrified. Did they check you coming in? Was the door security good? It was fine. They checked. Good. She's sitting on the chair alongside Gemma's bed, her right foot flipping up and down furiously with the tension. She seems to notice him staring at it and uncrosses her legs, putting both feet on the floor, clearly struggling to sit still. So what exactly is going on? What did they say? No specific. So what exactly is going on? What did they say? No specifics, just that there's a live operation. More arrests imminent, by the sound of things. It's going to be all right, Rachel. Is it? She looks out onto the now empty ward. Why is there no armed guard? D.I. Sanders said there should be a team downstairs soon. Just a precaution. I don't know if they'll turn up to the ward. I don't know how they do these things. Maybe they're waiting to see if they pull off these arrests. What arrests? I'm not sure. She said they have two strong leads. She's going to call an update as soon as anything happens. Is it Laura? Have they found Laura? Ed hasn't told Rachel about the anniversary. That today would have been his and Laura's silver wedding anniversary. That Laura had once said they should go back to the place they met to celebrate. He feels so stupid and so guilty for not thinking of it before. What if this really was the trigger for it all? What if Laura, in her delusions and her illness, somehow latched onto the date? What if all of this really is his fault? And then he notices Rachel's expression changing. She's looking at Gemma's bed, at first frowning, next her whole face darkening. Ed, look. He turns to their daughter, the headphones still in place, and something inside him shifts, breaks. Gemma's eyes remain firmly closed. She's as still as ever, skin pale. But trailing across each cheekbone is a haunting but unmistakable line, the droplets catching the line from the fluorescent strip overhead. Gemma is crying. Hold on a second. Okay, now my dog kind of creeped me out a little bit there. One minute he's barking, the next minute he stops. I don't like that. Chapter 60. The Private Investigator. There you go. Matthew and the two uniformed officers are waiting, concealed behind pillars in the central area of the cathedral called the choir. They can't be seen from the clock area, which is off to one side, but it also means Matthew can't see what's going on. The line's open to Wendy's phone, tucked in her top pocket, so he daren't speak, in case Laura's appeared and he's overheard. It would all have been so much easier if there had been time to plan with proper comms, earpieces. It's 11:45. He expected Laura to turn up early. It was always a long shot, but what if he's called this wrong? What if he should really be at the other cathedral, Mainstead, helping Mel check all the security, finding Sam's wife Lily? One of the uniformed officers, an affable-looking guy, leans forward as if to speak, but Matthew puts his finger up to his lips, then waves his other hand to signal that he should stay back. Keep quiet. And then at last... Oh, okay. Do you know what happened to the guide? A female voice. Soft Canadian accent. He can only just make it out and has to press the phone closer to his ear, adjusting the volume to maximum. Off ill, apparently. I think they're probably all volunteers. Shame. I always prefer it with a guide. Wendy sounds genuinely disappointed. Also convincing. Matthew puts his thumbs up to signal to the two uniformed officers that Laura's turned up. He sees them exchange a nervous look, and Matthew suddenly feels the full force of the risk he's taking here. There are cathedral staff and volunteers on site. They've been told to retreat to the shop area, but there's still a risk. The uniformed have explained this as a key arrest, but he's breached protocols. He should probably have spoken to the verger's office himself, but there wasn't time. She'd better not be armed. If anyone gets hurt. Just us then, Wendy adds, clearly as a signal to Matthew. Expected it to be busier on a Friday. Maybe people canceled. With the guy being ill, I mean. Matthew feels a tiny flicker of relief. At least no other visitors are nearby. Good. I looked it up online. They said noon's the best time for the clock, but I don't quite know what to expect. Any idea? I've seen it before. It's charming. Laura's voice again. Still very quiet. Cooked too. Matthew worries that it's stress, which will make her more unpredictable. Oh, so not your first visit then? No, I came years ago. Long time ago. Oh, right. Is that an American accent? Sorry to be nosy. I love an accent. Canadian. Oh, right. I'm quite local, really. From the Southwest. Devon, actually. Staying with a friend nearby. She's working today, so I'm just killing time. Matthew's almost smiling at how good Wendy is. Actually, I've been walking miles this morning. Feet are killing me. Just need to sit down for a bit. Would you mind awfully if I move your bag? Take the weight off? This is it. Matthew raises his arm and the two officers signal to stand by. He's already warned them that Laura's unstable, that they'll need to tread gently. And then, Wendy's voice is much louder as if she's pulled the phone from her pocket. I have the phone. I have the bag. Move now. Target's isolated. Go, guys. Matthew sweeps his hand as a signal. Laura, Wendy continues, I need you to stay calm. I'm actually an investigator, and these two policemen you can see just want to have a little chat with you. No one's going to hurt you, I promise. Stay right where you are, and please raise your arms in the air for me. Wendy's now walked backwards and is just visible from Matthew's vantage point. She's holding Laura's bag at arm's length. Matthew moves forward himself. What's going on? Give me my bag back! Give my bag back! Give me my bag back! Laura shouted and could be heard across the cathedral as Matthew watches the two officers close in, urging her to stay calm. We just need to talk to you, ma'am. Both arms in the air, please. That's it. Any weapon? Matthew's heart's beating fast as one of the officers examines the bag and then Laura's coat pockets. No weapon. Matthew feels a wave of relief. He stares up at the magnificence of the cathedral stonework as he dials Mel's number. He's already thinking of the security sweep underway at the other cathedral. And he needs to know if they found Sam's wife. Alright, so now we are delving into the final we are delving into we are now delving into the last 10 chapters of this book. That does include the epilogue, because I do include the epilogue as a chapter. Because it is part of the story, technically speaking. A prologue and an epilogue still count as a chapter in my book, even if it says prologue, chapter 1, chapter 2, blah, blah, blah. I still count the prologue as a chapter, just so we're all clear on how that works. I mean, I could tell you this because, dude, I have some books over here that have got literally lined up for me to where after this book right over here that I'm knocking on, that book that I just knocked on, I'm reading the next book after this one because I actually finished this one yesterday, and I'm reading the one that I'm going to be reading after that, after this one, this book right beside me. Okay, just so we're all clear. Chapter 61, The Mother. I am again trawling through the laptop, trying to find anything else Gemma wrote that might be important. Help us. I have to struggle not to torment myself, to reread the entries that hurt so much. I keep thinking about my mom and how I couldn't in a million years have this kind of conversation or this kind of relationship with her. You okay? What are you looking for? Anne looks worried. Just looking through photographs. I'm not ready to share what I found. I don't know why. Shame? Or maybe the same old, not wanting or knowing how to talk about things? There's a noise outside our cubicle and I look up through the window to see a nurse talking to a guard. He nods and there's a tap on the door. Your sister's here to see you. Shall I let her through? I don't have a sister. I feel a punch to my gut and put the laptop down. I stand. Ed stands. My wife doesn't have a sister, officer. Ed is glancing between the guard and the nurse. So, what does she look like, this woman? Does she have long strawberry blonde hair? I feel a wave of terror. Laura? No. The nurse looks puzzled. I'm so sorry. I didn't let her through. She's out in the corridor. I followed the rules. She looks petrified. She seems very nice. Very convincing. What does she look like? Ed repeats. She has a short black crop, like a pixie cut. What age? Young. 30s. Do I look like as if I have a sister in her 30s? I can't help my tone. I'm so tired of all of this. Exhausted by the fear. The constant cycle of adrenaline, wondering what the hell is coming next. I glance at Gemma, her face dried with the tears now, the headphones back in place. When, oh when will all this be over? It'll be another journalist. Ed pipes up. I bet it's another bloody journalist. Why can't they just leave us alone? With all the coverage ramping up for the final graduation ceremony, I wonder how we're going to make it through today. She's still in the corridor. The nurse is now talking directly to the guard, tipping her head towards the main door to the unit in the distance. Do you handle this, or shall I call hospital security? I'm so sorry. I honestly didn't realize. Yeah, it actually does cut away like that. Chapter 62. The Private Investigator. Matthew keeps looking at his watch, willing time to slow down. Mel wants him at Maidstead Cathedral as soon as possible, but it's tight. He's dropped Wendy back. They'll do a debrief later, but everything's happening all at once. Half an hour ago, Mel called, clearly feeling the pressure. Sam's wife Lily has been picked up on the motorway, so technically they're in the clear. All suspects with motives in custody. But Mel's now worried they should have canceled the final cathedral ceremony from the off. I made the wrong call, didn't I? It's too much all in one day. No, Mel. We're doing great. You're done great. We have them all in custody. We did it. We beat the deadline. But we don't know which one. Take a breath, Mel. And take it from me. We did okay. It's normal to feel like this. Frustrated, getting the suspects in custody is only ever the beginning. Very few confess. Alex is still denying any harm to Gemma. Insists he's only interested in his parental rights. Swears he has nothing to do with the dolls. Laura will need to see a doctor before she can be interviewed. Her mother in Canada has meantime confirmed more details. That Laura had been obsessing about the anniversary for months, researching Ed and his new family on the internet. No one understood why, and no one expected her to fly to the UK. In custody, Laura keeps pleading with the staff. You have to help me find my husband. No one will help me. This man who took my husband. He's not who he says he is. All they have beyond the arrest is a small breakthrough back at the office. The team finally have access to Gemma's social media accounts, and it looks as if Laura was the one sending her messages. He's not who he says he is. So that's more fuel for the interviews once they can get going. As for Sam's wife, Lily Blake has been taken straight to hospital. She's in shock. Mel says she may just be a first-class actor, but no surprise. She claims to know nothing of her husband's shooting. For now, they can't risk putting a foot wrong. She too will need the medical all-clear, re the pregnancy before any interviews. Matthew scrapes his hand through his hair and again checks his watch. An hour and a quarter before the cathedral ceremony. He needs to hurry. The only niggle? And yes, and no, it's not the word you're thinking of that I just said. The word that I said, and I will spell it out for you. Niggle. Niggle. That's what I did. If you don't believe me, let's see here. Gotta try to find it. Yeah, right here where my finger's at. There. Now you guys can't, now nobody can try to say, oh, he said a racist word. Even if I did, and I'm reading it from a book, I wouldn't really call that me being racist. I'd be reading it from a book. To me, there's a difference between reading a word in a book and actually saying it personally. Because when you're reading it from a book, you're not actually saying it, you're reading the book. But if you say it in actuality, without a book, then you're a racist. Then you're a racist piece of crap. The only niggle, they haven't yet found the gun. But even that's not unusual. Right now, Matthew wishes more than anything that he was Mel's key sergeant so he could lead on all the interviews when they do get going. With his family still down in Cornwall, he's had quite enough of waiting. The whole case is swirling around his head. He knows exactly what needs to be asked. Of all of them. He puts his phone to his ear, watching a woman across the car park bashing her fist into the ticket machine. He shakes his head. As if that's going to end well. As if that's going to end well. Hello, darling. You okay? We're fine. Sally sounds as if she's in the middle of something. Clattering of crockery in the background. Sorry, just doing the dishwasher. Any more news? No change. We're going to get to the ceremony out of the way, but so we can focus on the interviews. Oh, she pauses. With all the drama, I almost forgot about the wretched ceremony. Surely they're not still going ahead. Sally's tone has changed. Do you really have to go? I mean, now that it's sorted? Now they're all caught? Matthew lets out a long, slow breath. Truth is, he would prefer not to face Maidstone Cathedral again. There's been an urgent conference call. The university, the police, and the local MP. It's going ahead and Mel needs him there. There have been terse messages from Amanda, who had the hum from being kept out of the loop over Sam's ID earlier. She's clearly under pressure today, too. He remembers she was among those who wanted the final graduation canceled right at the start of this. She looked tired on the news earlier, issuing a statement paying tribute to Sam's service to the university. It's a terrible shock and loss. There will be a commemoration in due course, but the family don't want the students let down. They've worked so hard. They want them to graduate today. Matthew can't think of anything worse than having to deal with the media all the time. What a job. There was a moment when Matthew was sure the university would cancel, but the police hierarchy is in overdrive, issuing reassurances after the arrest to keep the tourism chiefs happy. Meantime, the poor Hartleys are having it tough. Today was always going to bring the media out in droves even before Sam's death. Rachel and Ed have had notes through the door at home, messages on social media, begging for interviews. One journalist even turned up at the hospital, pretending to be a relative. Mel's livid. I want that reporter arrested. Given a scare. She was trying to breach security in a serious investigation. I've had enough. If you have to go to the cathedral, you'll wear your protective vest, Matthew. Like you promised. Sally's voice again. Sal, I told you. It's over. You can stop worrying, love. Matthew glances at his boot. He never told Sally or Mel that he gave Wendy his vest when they arrested Laura earlier. They're all in custody. We just need to figure out which one now, find the gun, and build a watertight case. They haven't found the gun yet? Matthew shuts his eyes. Please, don't stress. It's not unusual. Probably in a river or a bin somewhere. We'll find it. Yeah, but you know me. I keep thinking what happened last time. Better safe than sorry. Wear your vest. Please? He doesn't answer. Matthew checks his watch. Look, I'm sorry, darling, but I need to go. His gaze is again drawn to the woman who's now kicking the ticket machine in frustration. So where are you now? At the hospital. Mel's asked me to quickly check in with the Hardleys before I go to the cathedral. Courtesy update. They've been having a lot of hassle with the media. I'll ring you later. How's our lovely girl, by the way? Painting seagulls. She's fine. You coming down for us soon? Absolutely. As soon as I know how the interviews are shaping up. Look, I better go. Love you. You too. Matthew rolls his lips together, surprised at how dry they feel. An hour and a bit until the cathedral service starts. So tight. For just a moment he thinks back to that awful day. Everyone running and screaming. Sally's face when he turned in the opposite direction. Gemma on the floor of the cathedral. All those terrified students. Ice cream. Ice cream. He can't quite believe that was just 9 days ago. He takes a deep breath and is just about to head to the machine himself when his mobile rings. He expects Mel again, but it's an unknown number. Is that Matthew Hill? I'm sorry, but I can hardly hear you. Sorry, satellite phone. Borrowed from a journalist. I'm Molly Price, the university HR. I'm still in Meltona. The hurricane! He'd forgotten about that. They've had no luck reaching her all week. There's terrible crackling on the line. I'm sorry, can you speak up? Matthew tries to adjust the volume through more interference. And then the line goes dead. Chapter 63. The Mother. Ed's gone for a quick shower to freshen up before all the coverage of the ceremony. He's using the relatives' room on the floor below. Shouldn't be long. I'm glad actually, as I want to go through the laptop some more. I can't beat this feeling of helplessness. Just sitting here, waiting for the cathedral to be on the news again. I honestly can't decide what will be worse. To watch it, or not watch it. I try a few more essay titles. Chaucer, Shakespeare, all real. Pages and pages of it with links to research notes. And then at last, I find something new. Just the title. Poetry. No essay question. I click open the file. Amanda, as it turns out, is not right in the head. Seriously. I freeze. Amanda? Tingling in both my arms. Why on earth is Gemma writing about Amanda? I scroll. It's like she has this split personality. I wish I'd never asked for the bloody work experience now. Never persuaded her to change her mind about it. Never got to know her. I look at Gemma in the bed, goosebumps covering both my arms. Amanda has never mentioned working with Gemma, knowing her so personally. My heart's pounding as I take my mobile from my pocket and dial D.I. Sanders. As the call connects, I skim more words, trying to make sense of what the hell this means. Why my daughter has this panic pouring from the page. Over Amanda. There's no answer. D.I. Sanders' phone goes straight to voicemail. Chapter 64. Chapter 64. The Private Investigator. It takes Matthew 3 attempts to reconnect to the satellite phone. A reporter answers. She's abrupt, saying she needs to file copy. This is an attempted murder investigation. This piques her interest. At last she calls out Molly's name and the university head of HR is back on the line. Matthew Hill, the Gemma Hartley inquiry. You called me? Oh yes. I had a message that I needed to speak to D.I. Sanders, but she's not answering. It gave me your number instead. Look, we have limited time on the phone. All very basic on the ground here. I heard about Gemma Hartley, but we only found out about Sam's murder from the media here this morning. So awful. And while I'm in a panic now, in a bit of a panic now, the thing is, you might want to speak to our communications lead. Amanda? Yes, she's on gardening leave, but her address is on file. Matthew feels something shift inside. Amanda's not on leave. She's really busy, right in the thick of it, especially today. No, that can't be right. Molly's tone changes completely. She agreed to hand over to her deputy. We had an understanding. I put a package together. I'm not following you. It's just, I've only heard about Sam, you see. She sounds confused now, babbling. I couldn't know. I would have tried harder to get through before if I'd realized. Again, the line fades out. Please, you need to speak quickly. What about Amanda? I'm having to let her go. I caught her taking drugs, then found out she lied on her CV. Not so serious at this stage in her tenure, but we had a big disagreement. Amanda got very nasty, very inappropriate. And then I found out the drugs issue went back years. Another pause. I gave her a choice. A package to avoid anything unpleasant in the press or suspicion. She agreed to gardening leave until I'm back. Until I speak up to the Chancellor who was away when it all blew up. Matthew's mind is now in overdrive. His adrenaline pumping. There's something else. The line's still poor. Matthew tries to adjust his volume. When she first joined the university, Amanda got in a bit of a pickle personally. Oh shit. We're delving into the crazy parts now, man. Chapter 65. First light today. The problem, Amanda thinks, is that people don't listen. Not properly. Before she heads out to speak, first to Sam and then to Gemma, Amanda takes her diaries from her bedroom and puts out the tall stack on the stand in the nursery. It makes her feel good to see it. Her story. Her truth. Whatever happens today, they will have to listen now. She thinks of all the thick black words in the diaries and imagines her voice being heard at last. Everyone wishing they had listened to her sooner. She's been up since 4, but that's not unusual. She sits in the nursery chair and takes in the elephant curtains, the cot, the mobile. The sun's just coming up and she wonders how today will go, but she's not afraid. Not at all. If there's any justice, if there is any such thing as karma, today is the day they will all finally see that her plan for this baby is what is best. It's what she deserves, needs, is owed. She thinks of that other child, her own child who would be 15 now. If a girl, they would be best friends, shopping in spas and friendly fights over borrowed clothes. If a boy, a messy room, football up not too loud on the telly. She would have taught him to cook, found common ground. She turns her head and can imagine it exactly, the voice shouting up the stairs. You up there, Mom? Instead, she takes in the silence, how it eats right into her flesh. The emptiness, both around her and deep inside her too. Every time she puts her key in the door, she has to clench her fist to push down the bile and the rage. When she thinks of Sam, sitting with her in that clinic all those years ago. It's the right decision, Amanda. It's just not the right time for us to have a child. She thinks of him now with his pretty young wife and his pretty suburban house. How is it fair that he is the one to have the family? No, he needs to speak to Gemma to sort it all out. Gemma arriving is a sign that this was all meant to be. Gemma doesn't need this child. Gemma is still a child herself. Amanda checks the time. Just gone 5, and feels in her pocket to smooth her fingers over the familiar white tablets in the plastic sachet. It would never have come to this if people had just listened. The doctor, Sam, Gemma, all of them. But she will be here today, however this goes. She turns again to the diaries neatly stacked, corners aligned. It's all in there. She used a fountain pen once. Smart. Expensive. But it made the words too soft. Too quiet. These days, she uses a thick black felt tip to match the voice in her head. And if they will listen today, Sam and Gemma, she knows what she will do. She planned it once before and she wasn't afraid then either. Because afterwards they will have to hear her. Afterwards they will all read the thick black words and they will see that none of this was her fault. It will be too late and they will all be very, very sorry that they didn't listen sooner. Chapter 66, The Mother. As she steps into our cubicle, my eyes dart straight to Gemma. Amanda. I stand up and glance at the window, but there's no sign of anyone. No guard, no nurse, no Ed. I thought we were going to do the statement by email. I try so hard to make my tone less surprised, steadier, but it's unnaturally high. I clear my throat, Amanda all the while watching me intently. Please, don't get up, Rachel. I thought it would be easier for me to just pop by. Go over the statement in person. Have you jotted something down for me? I checked the window again. No one. The guard must still be dealing with the journalists who tried to get through earlier. I'm surprised you didn't have trouble getting in. We're on a sort of a lockdown. My heart's pounding. Oh, it was fine. The nurse in the office saw me on the telly earlier. She smiled and holds up her university pass by way of illustration before moving to the spare seat at the end of Gemma's bed. I pulled my own chair forward, closer to Gemma, and placed my hand on the bedding. Gemma's diary made it clear Amanda was hounding her, but I still don't understand why. This isn't very good of you, Amanda. I worry that you will see my hand trembling, so I pull it back into my lap. You must be so busy with the ceremony. Happy to help. I'm just so sorry you've had such a tricky time with the media. I look again at Gemma and realize I walked right into this. Amanda messaged earlier, asking if I wanted any help to get the media off our backs. It was before I read the laptop again. I said yes. And yes, we did. We do know about that. The television's on mute, but there are pictures of everyone arriving at the cathedral. A reporter is summing up the whole horrible story. The attack on Gemma. The professor found dead this morning. The fact that some families have decided at the 11th hour not to attend the graduation after all. Shall I shut it off? The TV? I have no idea how to play this. How to make Amanda leave. So you reckon the reporters will be back off if we just make a short statement? That's what her message said would happen. Yes, I do realize it's asking a lot, Mrs. Hartley, but it's the strategy I always advise. Rachel, please. Rachel. She tilts her head, her eyes narrowing. I'll be giving another briefing to the media when I get back to the Cathedral Green. so I can include your statement. That should keep them happy. Keep them off your back, hopefully. Thank you. Very good of you. So let's get this done then. I'm sure you're tight for time. I glance again at the window. Still no guard, no sign of Ed. So have you had time to write a few words about how Jim is doing, the relief about the arrests, and wishing the new graduates well today? I reach for my iPad and notice that Amanda is staring at the end of Gemma's bed, the little hill created by the frame over her missing leg. Helen mentioned that she opened her eyes. Amanda's tone has changed and I feel bile in my throat. I clench my fist, digging the nails into my palm. I should never have messaged Helen. And then my mobile rings. I move to take it from my pocket, but Amanda stands. Don't answer that, Rachel. She's now staring at Gemma's face, her expression much darker. And I notice her pupils look strange. My eyes dart to the laptop. Gemma wrote about the pupils. Amanda reaches into her bag. You are not to answer your phone, Rachel. You are not even to touch your phone. Do you understand me? Oh, hostage situation going on here. Oh, shoot. Oh, this gonna... Oh, snap. Chapter 67. The Private Investigator. Mel, we have a problem. Where's Amanda? Amanda? I think they said the Hartleys asked to see her. Oh, what? Hashtag CamDog Plus raid. Whoa. And we got Mr. Coconut in the house starting this thing here. We got Anson and Amazing. Mr. Coconut doing a link for CamDog. Coconut, while you're at it, because you did do a raid earlier, can you also give a link to Sir Relkenstein as well? Because he did do a raid earlier, and I couldn't do a link drop for him. So if you could do that for me as well, that'd be appreciated. And then we got the man himself, CamDog, who was here last night. But by the time I yes, boss. Yes, boss. Anyway, but yeah, so, oh, who else we got? We got Josh X Tari, Star Tari Gaming Channel. Yep, they just happened to come by as I'm about to end the story. Like, we're actually about 4 chapters away from the end here. Straight with my second channel playing Mario Kart. Well, did you have fun playing Mario Kart? Regardless of no matter how good or how bad a player did, as long as they had fun, that's all that matters. I would know this. Here in my mouth, trying to dip my mouth, jeez. So yeah, check out CamDog and while you're at it, check out Sir Elkenstein, the 2 people that have rated me earlier. Well, Relkenstein rated me earlier, but here's CamDog right now. Check both these guys out, and I just realized I need to start doing more shoutouts for everybody. I might do a special community post shouting out everybody that's rated me and post a link to their channels, because I have yet to do that for some reason. But good to hear it was fun. Alright, so where we left off is that Rachel and Amanda are in a situation where Rachel, aka the mother, Mrs. Hartley, is involved in a hostage situation, as she is the hostage with Amanda, seemingly. It's at least hinted, if not completely showing that. And I say hinted because it just says Amanda reaches into her bag, It shows she says something in a threatening manner. So I would say yes, that is a hostage situation going on. So I'll start over with the chapter, because I was literally at the beginning of it when all that happened. Should add the Streamlabs bot instead of commands for streamers, that way it's easier to drop them. I would if I knew how Streamlabs worked. I wish I could. But because I don't have very many ways of getting Streamlabs to work with me, I'm kind of screwed. So, yeah, that's why I asked for the mods to do the link drops. That's why I asked for that. If I knew how to do Streamlabs, I would. But since I don't, I can't. Chapter 67. Oh, I can send you a link to the bot if you want. It's entirely web-based. Oh, you can try and I'll check it out later. DM it to me on Discord if you want. Make it easier for that. Chapter 67. The Private Investigator. Mel, we have a problem. Where's Amanda? Amanda? I think they said that Hartley's asked to see her. Something about helping with the media. She's due back here in half an hour. Actually, hang on. There's a message on my phone from Rachel Hartley. Hold on a minute, let me listen. Matthew presses the lift button for the 5th floor. Oh Lord. Rachel's saying Amanda knew Gemma personally. Was hassling her. There's something on Gemma's laptop about it. Something we missed. I know. No, listen. Matthew feels the rush of adrenaline. Looks like we got this wrong. There's a strong chance Amanda's our shooter. A beat of silence. I just took a call too from that head of HR. The one abroad. She finally got your message. Right. Mel is making the familiar scene send you from shock into 5th gear. Putting you on hold while I speak to armed response. Matthew waits and watches the lift numbers. 3, 4. Okay, armed team are in the grounds. On standby to move to the ward. Mel's voice again. So what do we have? I need to phone Rachel Hartley back. Amanda's being eased out. She's unstable. A serial drug user. And... He pauses as the doors open on the 5th floor. She had an affair with Sam Blake when she first joined the university. Matthew steps out onto the corridor opposite the coffee machine. No one in sight. I need to speak to the team again. Where exactly are you? Right outside the ward. I've got this. He's staring at the double doors, his heartbeat increasing. No, Matt. Wait until I get armed response up here. I did see a comment up there. I'll read it after I get done with this chapter because I've literally got 2 paragraphs left. 2 very short ones. I'll speak to the nurses. If she's here already, we can't wait. I'll work with the guard on the ward. He's not there. Still dealing with that reporter. Not on your own, Matt. It's too dangerous. Alright, it has been sent. Okay. Thank you. 3 chapters left. But for context, for those of you that missed it, the name Sam Blake is a bit synonymous here because he was found dead. So the whole thing with Sam Blake, let me try to explain it with context. So Sam Blake was having an affair with 2 students. The victim in this situation, who was Gemma, as well as one other person, and this person named Amanda. And now, Sam Blake has been killed by somebody. Now it's seeming like the suspect in this case, as well as in that situation, as well as the shooting involving Gemma, is the prime suspect. And if anybody wants to know how he died, you might want to look back into this part because I do talk about it. But to give you a bit of a visual representation to it, think of Glenn's death from The Walking Dead. Whereas, if you've seen the death scene, you know where I'm going at with this. But alongside being bludgeoned to death, he was also shot. Alright? If you don't want to visually think about that, then that's fine. But I'm just giving you guys what would be a visual representation as to what happened to this man. Chapter 68. The Daughter Before. Poetry. This is getting off the scale ridiculous. Proper harassment. I thought I could just make it through to the graduation, but I'm not sure anymore. I'm wondering if I should just phone home, or tell someone here at the university, even the police. I wish I'd never asked for that bloody work experience now. Never persuaded her to change her mind about it. Never got to know her. Amanda, it turns out, is not right in the head. Seriously. It's like she has this split personality. I mean, she seems so together on the surface. The smart suits and all the strutting about, managing photo shoots and press conferences. Always so busy, busy, busy. So on it. Oh, excuse me. But underneath, she's just like the rest of us. No. Way worse than the rest of us. She's messed up. Dilated pupils. Deaf on something some days. When she changed her mind about the work experience, I was so grateful. 2 whole weeks in her office. It was perfect for my CV. And she was so nice to me at first. Coffees and sandwiches at lunchtime at work. Then a drink in the bar after a really long day. Then a meal out to talk about my career. My future. And then, after she caught me crying in the loo one day and I stupidly blurted it all out, broke down about the baby, I thought she was being so much more than a mentor. A new friend. The shoulder I so badly needed. Steady. Kind. So supportive. She actually invited me around to her house, and it was such a relief to have one person on the planet to properly confide in. I couldn't believe how steady she was. I should have really realized it was all fake, that none of it was to help me. It was after I confided about the pregnancy, not knowing what to do, that she started to get really weird. Said she was retiring early. It was a big secret, she said, but it could solve everything for me. For both of us. She said she could help with my career. Help with the baby, too. Some days it was like she was on something. Wired. When she first mentioned private adoption, I thought she meant advice. Something for me to investigate. An option for me. But that's not what she meant at all. Plus, she somehow guessed who the father was. Confronted me. And now she's texting me constantly, trying to get me to change my mind. She's got this mad idea that I should let her have my baby. Can you believe it? A sort of unofficial arrangement? She's off her head. I'm keeping well clear, but she's threatening to phone my parents, to report the affair and challenge my degree. Do you really want everyone to know how you got yours first? As if. I spent 3 years slaving for it. So, for now, I'm just trying to distance myself, to get back on track. I told her to stay away from me. That I just want to get past the graduation and then talk to my parents. It's a crazy situation we got going on here. With just the fact that we now have this bit of a plot twist involving Amanda, it's kind of getting a little crazy right now. A little too crazy. Chapter 69. The Private Investigator. Hello. Coffee break. Matthew moves quickly into the cubicle, pushing the door shut with his foot behind him. Both Rachel and Amanda are seated. Body language very tense. The nurses mentioned on the door you were here, so I got you a black, Amanda. That okay? He holds out a cup to her, and notices immediately that her pupils are dilated. Rachel widens her eyes and glances towards a trolley next to Amanda. There's a phone on the top shelf. It vibrates with a text or message. I didn't know you were coming here. Amanda stares at him and reaches for the phone, which she puts in her jacket pocket. She doesn't check the message. Is that Rachel's phone? Is that what she's signaling? On the satellite call, Molly said Amanda had been caught using cocaine, but had confessed to an addiction to sleeping tablets and other prescription drugs too. She blamed it all on the trauma over Sam. Molly also discovered she didn't even have a degree, as her CV stated, a baseline requirement for senior staff. Alone, she said she would have overlooked it, but in context it was leverage for the servants. The drugs were the main issue. Matthew wondered what exactly Amanda's using. He thinks of Sam's murder just a few hours earlier. He considers an immediate dive to put her in a hold, but Amanda quickly pulls her bag onto her lap and reaches into it. She meets his eyes as a warning. He stills himself. Could you give us a minute, Matthew? We were just sorting out something private here. Amanda is still looking at him and keeps her hand firmly inside her bag, clearly gripping something. Actually, I've asked Amanda to leave now. Rachel stands and moves closer to Gemma's bed. I'm very tired. I won't stay then. Just wanted to update that it's all going well at the cathedral. Matthew pretends to check his watch. I need to get back there, actually. Can give you a lift if you like, Amanda. I've got my own car. Amanda scrapes her chair backwards towards the wall so that she can see both Matthew and Rachel Hartley, too. Matthew sips his drink. Where's your husband? He keeps his voice steady as he looks at Rachel. Taking a shower. Maybe you'd like to take a little break, too. Join him? Get some rest? She's going nowhere. Actually, can we change seats, Rachel? Amanda glances between Rachel and the window on the ward. The blinds are down, but Matthew's hoping once the armed officers arrive, they'll be able to make out movements through the gaps. I'm fine here. I like to be next to Gemma. Rachel's voice cracks, and Matthew can see that her hand is shaking as she reaches out to take her daughter's. I said we need to change seats. Amanda's head is jerking strangely, like a tick, and she takes her right hand, now holding a gun, from her bag and points it at Gemma. Rachel lets out a horrible noise, like an animal in pain. She then throws herself onto the bed, shielding Gemma's body. You stay away from her. You leave us alone. It's going to be all right, Mrs. Hartley. Let's keep everything nice and calm. Matthew keeps his gaze fixed on Amanda, who moves into Rachel's seat in the corner. It's deliberate. She's placed herself out of the line of sight through the window to the ward, and fence out of line of shot from the ward. She must have guessed about the backup. Come on, Amanda. You don't want to make this any worse. You don't want to hurt anyone here. Matthew speaks slowly, but Amanda won't even look at him. It's unlikely now that armed support will be able to get a clean shot when they do turn up. So he's on his own. His mind's in overdrive, trying to work out the least dangerous of his options. You need to wake Gemma up. Amanda's voice is crossed suddenly, and still her heart is sort of twitching. I told you already, Mrs. Hartley. I need to talk to your daughter. Rachel is crying now, still lying across her daughter's form in the bed. Matthew thinks of Emily as something shifts inside. He knows he'd do the same. Tries to protect her, or tries to shield her. I can't wake her up. She's in a coma. What's the matter with you? Come on, Amanda. She's right. We can't talk to Gemma today. But we can work something out. Amanda, look at me. Talk to me. At last she turns to him, also moving the gun, pointed now at Matthew. She opened her eyes. She's faking it. A pause. Matthew waits. I just want what's fair. Don't you see that? Amanda tilts her head towards the mother and daughter, huddled together on the bed. One utterly still, the other weeping. Look at them. I just want to know what that's like. She pauses again. To be everything to someone. Her tone is darker, determined. I've got nothing else now. Only the baby. I just need to talk to Gemma. Make her listen. Matthew's mind is whirling, trying to figure out what the hell Amanda means about Gemma's baby. He needs to distract her, turn her away from Gemma. Look, I understand why you're so upset. About the job, after all you've done for the university. You know about that? Amanda lets out a little huff. Must be devastating. I gave my whole life to that place. Yes. Yes, you did. It's ridiculous. You don't need a degree to do a good job. She pauses, that chin twitch again. And half of the students take drugs. They don't throw them out. Her tone's more distant, as if she's talking to herself. Still, he leads her to look at him, not Gemma. So what happened with Sam, Amanda? She narrows her eyes, and for a beat, Matthew regrets the question. Why don't we move outside? Just you and me. And we can talk about what happened with Sam. I want to listen. I want to understand. Matthew pauses as Amanda stares at Gemma, wrapped in her mother's arms on the bed. Whatever's happened, it's not Gemma's fault. He spun her the very same story, you know. Sam? Yes. I waited for him. Her face changes again. I waited for him, and look what happened. I get nothing, and she gets a baby. She turns the gun towards Gemma again. You need to wake her up. We need to talk. That baby needs me. Matthew's just trying to calculate the risk. The distance between him and Amanda across the room. If he dives, can he disarm her? Or will it trigger the shot? Well, Rachel's standing up. She turns to step between Amanda and the bed. You can't seriously think that anyone would ever let you near a baby. No, Rachel. He puts up his arm, but Rachel's eyes are wide and defiant. You stay away from my daughter. And then Rachel suddenly lurches towards Amanda herself, and all options are gone. Matthew dives too. There's the thunder of the gun firing, a huge punch to his chest. He can't tell where he is anymore. On the ground? Is he on the ground? His eyes are open, but he can only see blackness. They're screaming. You did this! You all did this! He can't tell whose voice. A second shot. He blinks and blinks, but still cannot see it properly. Just a blur of more shapes in the room. More loud noises. And somehow he's in another room too. So many young and frightened faces in their gowns and their mortarboards, all staring at him. Ice cream. Ice cream. And then it is their hall at home, and Emily is running down the stairs. Daddy! Daddy! You need to get up! But he can't get up. He can feel all the air and the blood seeping from his insides. But he can't see. He can't make Emily hear him. And he can't get up. Very first thing when I thought about this, I won't say what happens in the epilogue, but first thought when I first read this, I thought he was dead. I thought he was either dead or just about was going to die, was on the verge of dying, based on how she describes what's going on with him at that moment. Epilogue. Yep, final chapter here. Epilogue. The mother. I regret the suit. Too hot. But they never get the forecast right, do they? At least the baby looks cool. Gorgeous, actually. I lean in to offer a finger and she grasps it in that endearing and utterly centered way, focusing her eyes with great concentration as if my finger's the most exciting thing she's seen all day. She clings tighter, tighter, and then her expression starts to change and I realize what's really going on here. Oh no. Gemma's tone is mortified as she leans in to watch her daughter's face also. She's doing a poo. Oh, Sophie, not now. Please, not now. The baby, my beautiful granddaughter, pink and plump and perfect in cream silk gown and matching bow in her hair, has decided to celebrate her first visit to church in her own inimitable style. I watch first the pursuing of the lips to that untrained eye, could be a smile, but changing. Ah yes, to that special sort of grimace. Yeah, you know the look. What do we do? Gemma looks at me in a panic. Mom, everyone's ready to start. What do we do? I move swiftly, Sophie still in my arms, to the side of the church, closer to the door that leads to the corridor. Gemma follows. It doesn't matter, honey. I'll ask the vicar for 10 minutes. Here, you go and change her. No one will mind. There's a proper station in the ladies. I saw it earlier. But the dress! I can't manage Sophie's dress in there. Let's just whip it off her. Let's just whip it off here for a minute. We can't do that. Of course we can. No one will see. I lift Sophie under her bare arms and hold her out, legs dangling to her mother, smiling at how surreal that word, that new label feels. Mother. My little girl. A mother. Take her through in her vest and I'll bring the dress in a few minutes. I unzip the beautiful silk and bring between us. We slip it off, leaving Sophie in her pink sleeveless vest and nappy, legs kicking. Do you want me to come with you? Help? No, I'm fine. I can do it. You speak to the vicar. I put the dress carefully over my arm and watch Gemma head through the double doors towards the ladies in the corridor. I take in the blade. How effortlessly she now walks on her blade, and feel overwhelmed with love for her. I think of the day she finally woke up from the coma, and how I stupidly thought the whole bad dream was over. No brain damage. And then the new nightmare. All the physio, the pain, the tears. My brave, brave girl learning how to adjust her stance, and her balance as her shape and her weight changed week on week through the pregnancy, learning and relearning how to walk. I think of her now out running while Sophie naps. How much easier she finds that blade. I'm going to wear my blade today, not the leg. Do you think people will mind? Of course no one will mind. As long as you're wearing a shoe on that blade, I don't think anybody's really gonna care what you wear, with which prosthetic leg you wear, whether it be the blade or the actual leg itself. I wait for the doors to swing back into place behind her before I turn, spotting the vicar. I hold up my hand and sweep across the front of the church to share news of our little impasse. He laughs, a family man himself. I stand alone then at the front, needing a moment. We are not especially religious. Haven't been in any kind of church since, well, you know. But it's a pretty little church, and Gemma so wanted this christening, this blessing. She can make up her own mind about religion later, don't you think, Mom? You know what? before I read any further, I'm going to say that is a very good way to look at it. That is a very good way to look at that. She can make up her own mind about religion later. Yes, she can. And I believe any religious family, every religious family should think like that. Because even I, as a non-religious person myself, if my niece or nephew chose to be religious, I would support them. You know, I would still treat them the same as I did before they decided to do that, if they ever do. Because they still gonna be my niece and nephew, all in the end anyway. So the only thing that would be different would be them following a religion of some sort. Again, if they chose to do that. But I still like how she says that. It's a really good way to look at that. Back to the story now, before I say anything else. It's a modern design. Pale stone and contemporary stained glass windows. The sun is out, casting dancing shades of blue and green and red across the pale oak floor. That Rachel before, would watch the colors and find it pretty. But this Rachel, no. This Rachel thinks only of those wretched jugs from Alex, blue and green and red. I smashed them all after his case. Smash! Smash! Hulk smash going on over here. Shocked at my capacity for rage. They gave him community service, would you believe? Community service. The over silver lining, he's not Sophie's father. Gemma decided on a test, so we have a restraining order in place. He must never come anywhere near any of us again. I brush the skirt of my dress and think of my counselor. She's a great one for breathing. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And count, Rachel. I had expected to be past it all by now, but she says I must be patient. And so I do the breathing. 4 cycles and I feel a little calmer. I check my watch, wondering if they'll come. I tap my foot and take in the little huddle of people, waiting to take up their seats. Ed chatting to my mother. He seems to feel my stare, turns and smiles. I smile back and lift the dress to signal the pause. He laughs. We're doing so much better, me and Ed. No more secrets. He winks and swings his body back to my mother, and I turn my gaze too. Near the front, a few of Gemma's university friends are gathered in an animated group, looking so young and fresh-skinned with their long hair and their high heels. Their high hopes. I wonder if any of them were there, that awful day. The cathedral. No, don't, Rachel. And breathe. I check my watch again. Were we even right to send the invitation? Probably not de rigueur at all. I probably pronounced that incorrectly, but I don't care. I mean, it's a job, isn't it? Not really personal. It didn't reply, but nor did lots of others, and sometimes people just forget, don't they? Gemma so wants them here. A couple of minutes pass and I'm just about to leave to help her out when there's a squeak at the main door. And at last there he is. Impossibly tall, with his curly hair, and alongside him a beautiful, slim woman, and the prettiest little girl with golden curls to match her father. I hurry them through the aisle to greet them. Matthew! I'm so glad you came! I want to hug him hello, but realize this might be every kind of wrong. Not least because his arm is in a sling. The last time I said he'd had a second surgery on the shoulder. How's the arm doing? Surgeon's happy. Should be right as rain. Back on the golf course in no time. I'm just wearing this to milk it. His wife smiles and holds out her hand. He doesn't even play golf, but he is milking it. You must be Sally. I'm so pleased to meet you. I beam, worrying quietly what she really thinks of it all. Of me. Of us. You too, Mrs. Hartley. Her smile reaches her eyes, and I'm relieved. Rachel, please. I hold onto her hand and squeeze it. I've always felt it was my fault. Matthew getting shot. Wish I could find the right words. We owe your husband so much. I'm really so very sorry about the incident, the injury. She doesn't answer but holds the smile and squeezes my hand in return. And I realize that I cannot imagine what it's really like to live the way he does, the way they do. Good job, she nagged me good job, she nagged me to wear the vest, eh? Matthew's winking. The story in the paper said the bulletproof vest was a last-minute thing. It was in his boot after he loaned it to a colleague. He only put it on after talking to Sally on the phone. Without it, that's not the thing. You see, you should always listen to your wife, I say, and we all laugh. Where's the baby? The little girl looks disappointed, casting her eye around the church. There's no baby. Comfort break. Number twos. I grimace, lowering my voice. Oh dear. Sally's now grinning. Remember that all too well. She's having a nappy change, Emily. Yuck! I'm sparing the dress. I lift up the folds of silk to illustrate as Emily asks if she can light a candle, and Sally nods, leading her to the side of the church where a black wrought iron stand of candles is casting dancing opals on the stained glass window above. Seriously, is the arm going to be okay, Matthew? It is. I'm so sorry what I did. I should have left it to you. I'm thinking of that moment of madness, diving at Amanda. Please, we've been through this, Rachel. It was Amanda's fault, all of it. Not yours. You were very brave. Was I? I close my eyes to the picture that still haunts my dreams the most. Matthew on the floor, shot and bleeding. And then Amanda, the gun to her own head. Her eyes darting to Gemma, then meeting mine one last time. You did this! You all did this! And then the horrible boom of the second shot. Amanda's body thrown backwards with the force. And for the first time in that sad little cubicle, with all the blood and the mayhem as police rushed in, everyone shouting, Man down! Man down! I was glad of Gemma's coma. Don't wake up, Gemma. Don't wake up just yet. How's Gemma doing? It was 10 more days before she opened her eyes, and at last kept them open. Amazing. You'll see in a minute. Actually, I'd better go. Give her a hand. Of course. I put my hand on his good arm, and for a minute, I just keep it there, eyes closed once more. I was getting kind of tired. Gotta go to bed. Have a nice rest of your day stream. Take care, everyone. Alright, Mr. Coconut, I know I read this after you left, but I hope you have a good rest of your night as well, and a good sleep. And a great tomorrow, too, while you're at it. Matthew and I last talked at Amanda's inquest. Ed didn't want me to go, but I had no choice. A witness summons. And in any case, I wanted to try to understand the mania. Why on earth Amanda would do that to Gemma? While we waited for the coroner, Matthew told me about Laura's transfer back to Canada. Some appeal deal brokered by her mother. Laura will have to stay under supervision but in a special unit, not jail. Turns out she was sending messages to Gemma as well as stalking me. She found Ed on a website through his work. Said in court that she needed to warn Gemma and me too that the man posing as Ed was an imposter. He's not who he says he is. She sent the note to Matthew via his daughter after reading about his work on the case, checked his background online, and got it into her head that he might be the one to finally listen to her. You have to help me find my husband. No one will believe me. The sad thing is, she went back to Wells Cathedral, genuinely hoping to find the real Ed there again for their anniversary. And then the inquest. It was held in a dark wood-paneled room in a town hall and wasn't at all what I expected. Deep down, I suppose what I needed and wanted was a day in court for Gemma, a reckoning. But that's not what I got. Not what an inquest is. Both Matthew and D.I. Sanders tried to prepare me, but I didn't truly understand until I was sitting in the room. I remember this horrible wave of realization as the coroner explained his remit, that his job was not to rule on Amanda's crimes, but on her death. Only why and how she died. I sat there, and the cruelty of it finally hit me. I wasn't there in that dark and horrible room as the mother of the victim. I was there as the last person to see Amanda alive. We did at least get more of the story. The police found a nursery set up at her house, a cot with a mobile in place, a nursery chair in the corner, elephant curtains at the window. There were diaries too, a huge stack, mad and angry scribblings filling page after page. Turns out Amanda had an affair with Sam when she first started at the university in her 30s. She fell pregnant but had a termination, which she later deeply regretted. Sam said it was the wrong time, that his wife was fragile, not Lily. This was his first wife. Amanda waited for him, continued the affair on and off for more than a decade. She genuinely believed that one day he would get divorced and they would have a family of their own. But she suffered insomnia and stress and became dependent on sleeping tablets. When a doctor tried to reduce her dose, she went to dealers. And so the drug spiral began. When Sam eventually divorced, it wasn't Amanda he turned to. Instead, he broke it off with her and within 2 years married the much younger Lily. Amanda never got over it. And then, when Molly caught her using cocaine at work, Amanda saw it as the end. The loss of not just her job, but everything. I did not understand the link with Gemma until the inquest. Seems when Amanda found out about Gemma's pregnancy, Sam the father, she simply became fixated and eluded. Her last chance for purpose, happiness. She came up with this fantasy where Amanda would get her final chance to be a mother, and Gemma could carry on with her life. The coroner was told Amanda paid one of her dealers to deliver the dolls, to confuse the inquiry, to frighten the Hartleys and Matthew's family too. She got the gun from the same dealer. It matched the bullet used on Gemma. Sam too. Amanda's diary claimed she never meant to kill Gemma. She actually planned to kill herself at that first graduation. A huge and bloody gesture in front of everyone from the stone balcony above the audience, supposedly to bring shame on the university for getting rid of her so cruelly. She wanted it public. A letter in her pocket pointed everything to her diaries. My truth. But when she saw Gemma, so lovely and so young in her robe down below, her whole life ahead of her, carrying the baby Amanda was now too old to have, she was in the moment overwhelmed with jealousy and rage, and made a different choice. And Sam? Amanda's diary said she was going to Sam to press him to use his rights as a father, to persuade Gemma when she recovered to let Amanda have the baby after all. What was so difficult is that Amanda seemed to genuinely see all this as reasonable, possible. The coroner nailed it in the summing up. Clearly, we all know that you would never have been allowed to parent that child. This was the sad and deluded thinking of someone who's lost all sense of the real world. We cannot know how that confrontation with Sam Blake went, only how it so tragically ended. The verdict, as expected, suicide. And that was it. Over. Done. Everyone stood up as the coroner left the room, but I didn't. Couldn't. I remember sitting there feeling completely numb, that it just wasn't enough. No full stop. I started muttering and Matthew had to take me into the corridor to find a glass of water to calm me down. But where's the justice, Matthew? Where's the justice for Gemma? I promise that I do try not to dwell. The problem is, it's a bit like a haunting, and sometimes when the scenes all swirl in my head, just like the light through those windows in the church, I spiral, find myself muttering out loud all over again, like some crazy woman. It's okay, Rachel. It's really over now. Matthew is leaning in, and I open my eyes. Sorry, was I muttering? I blush. Don't want to be this new Rachel. Don't want to be this new Rachel. Not muttering, but miles away. Sorry. Don't be, he's whispering. Look, it's very hard to cross paths with someone like Amanda. Someone that broken. The trick is to stop trying to make sense of it, Rachel. You have to try to let it go. You sound like my counselor. He laughs. I smile. Matthew was the one to recommend therapy after it worked so well for his daughter. I take in his expression. I glance to Emily, who is on tiptoe, lighting her candle, then back to this good man. This good father. This man who could so easily have been lost, too. Thank you, Matthew. The words sound so inadequate, but he is smiling, and so I finally let go of his arm, start my breathing exercises again, and make my excuses. I hurry away to the ladies to find Gemma babbling to Sophie, as she hurls the soiled nappy into the lidded stainless steel bin. Now isn't that better, young lady? You comfy now? Ready for your big entrance? Sophie tries to grab her mother's necklace as Gemma lifts her into her arms from the changing station. Give it to me while you wash your hands. Thanks, Mom. I take Sophie and move over to a chair in the corner so that I can pop her dress back on, juggling her arms through the layers of silk and leaning back as she tries to grab my glasses. There. Don't you look pretty? I stand and look at Gemma through the mirror. My brave and beautiful girl. She dries her hands, and as she turns to me, I lean forward to plant a kiss on her forehead. For a moment she freezes, frowning. She looks back at me through the mirror and then turns to me directly, puzzled, as if trying to figure something out. Do that again. What? Kiss me on the forehead. I'm thrown but happily plant a second. That's it. What? She looks aside, then directly at me once more. That's why I came back. What do you mean? What do you mean? And now she's smiling, more animated, as if she's just worked out the punchline to a joke. You know I don't remember much from the coma. Hardly anything, actually. But I do remember something now. I remember feeling you do that. Speaking more quickly now. What? Kissing me on the forehead. You really felt that? In the coma? I did. I just remembered that I really did. And one day, she lets out a huff, still smiling, I decided to swim back to you. Swim? She's completely lost me now. Oh, never mind. It's complicated, but that kiss, it's definitely why I came back. Why I woke up. I'm utterly confused, but also incredibly happy to see her like this. To imagine that she did hear me, or at least sense me near her some of that time. All those long days in that cubicle. This mother who messed up, who got it so very wrong, but who has always loved her with every ounce of my being. And then I watched Gemma pass the kiss to her own daughter's forehead. Can I really do this, Mom? She's now holding Sophie in her arms, gazing at her child, her expression and her tone changing, more intense. She doesn't mean today. She means all of it. Gemma signed up for teacher training, school-based, so I can help with Sophie. It will be tough, we all know that. But when I think of what she's achieved already, of course you can. We've had the talk about motherhood, all the mistakes I made. Just love her, I add. No secrets, and you'll be fine. Gemma smiles again. She takes a deep breath and turns finally to check her own reflection. And you're sure it's not too pink? She is tilting her head and pulling the necklace of her dress as Sophie tries again for the pendant. It's the dress we chose together for her graduation, in that other life, that parallel universe. I take in the whole picture properly through the mirror. Gemma. My Gemma. So brave and beautiful with her blade and her baby, and who to me, I swear, has never looked so lovely. This feeling more powerful than breathing. In this moment, pounding all the dark scenes into dust. No, I clear my throat. It's definitely not too pink. And that's the end of the story, but I do want to do a bit of reading here, because we still got some things left here. Author's note. It feels strange to admit it here, but this was a book I initially didn't want to write. The opening scene in the cathedral came to me a few months after my elder son's glorious and very happy graduation. I was quite shaken. Also crossed with my brain for coming up with the dark images so soon after the contrast of our happy family day. I remember telling my husband, well, I'm definitely not going to write that up. But my process has always been a strange one. My stories often feel as if they come through me rather than from me. Yes, I know how ridiculous and heaven forbid pretentious that sounds. I do promise that I realize deep down it's all me, but maybe it's because I was a reporter for decades. Maybe my brain likes to work that way, to see these fictional stories and characters as real, in the same way my news stories were real, so that I can still feel in this new landscape of make-believe that I'm trying to do justice to real experience and real emotions. Whatever the case, this story and this dark idea just wouldn't go away, however much I resisted it. In the end, it felt as if Gemma and her family stubbornly camped out in my writing room, arms crossed and expressions determined, whispering more and more of the story until I gave in. It was only at that point I realized this was a mother-daughter story, that it was actually a thriller with love at its core, that I felt more comfortable with it. I can only hope that you like how the story turned out all these years after the opening scene flashed into my brain. Thank you so much for reading Her Perfect Family. If you've enjoyed the novel, I'd hugely appreciate a review on Amazon. They really do help other readers discover my books. I also love to hear from readers, so feel free to get in touch. You can find my website at www.teresadriscoll.com and also say hello on Twitter at Teresa Driscoll or via my Facebook author page www.facebook.com/Teresa Driscoll author and at Instagram too at TKDriscoll_author. Warm wishes to you all. Teresa. Acknowledgements. This is my 5th thriller and my 7th published novel, and I learned that nothing changes. Trust me, it takes a village to make a book. So huge thanks to all those who have so generously played a part in helping to shape this story and send it out into the world. To my fabulous publisher, Thomas and Mercer, my patient editors, Jack Butler and Jane Snellgrove, and my wonderful agent, Madeline Milburn and her team. I also need to thank, as always, my gorgeous family who are so supportive, especially with wine and chocolate when I hit the inevitable wobble. And finally, my heartfelt thanks go to you, my lovely readers. My stories are now translated into 20 languages, and your wonderful messages from across the globe really do mean the world. I pinch myself daily to be doing this job. My dream since primary school is such a privilege. About the author. For more than 25 years as a journalist, including 15 years as a BBC TV news presenter, Teresa Driscoll followed stories into the shadows of life. Covering crime for so long, she watched and was deeply moved by all the ripples each case caused, and the haunting impact on the families, friends, and witnesses involved. It is those ripples that she explores in her darker fiction. Teresa lives in beautiful Devon with her family. She writes women's fiction as well as thrillers, and her novels have been published in 20 languages. You can find out more about her books on her website, www.teresadriscoll.com, or by following her on Twitter at Teresa Driscoll, or Facebook, www.facebook.com/Teresa Driscoll author, or Instagram at tkdriscoll_author. And that is it. We are done with this story. My thoughts on this story. What a ride this was. There's a reason why I said this is actually one of my top 5 favorite books that I've read. It's even with all the books that I've read thus far, I'm not kidding. This book is literally one of my top 5 favorite books that I've ever read. And I know I got a crap ton of books over here to read for everybody here that wants to look at them. And trust me when I say it's going to be a hell of a ride. Because I am going to be reading a lot of books. From the kid-friendly to the oh-so-controversial books. Whether it's because of the content of the book or because of the person who wrote it. Either way, I am a rebel and I'm reading every book that I got over there. Every single book. But yes, I am officially done with Her Perfect Family. If anybody has heard of this book but you didn't want to watch the live readings and you wanted to read it for yourself, and you love these type of mystery, this kind of thriller books, recommend it 10 out of 10. I love it. It's so good. Because the whole time, you're led to believe, well, it could be this character or it could be that character. But then, literally out of nowhere, there's a third person involved in the story that could be the suspect. And it only happens at the tail end of the book as a big twist ending. And to me, I have never seen a twist ending this good, this interesting, at least, if not good, since the movie Us. And it's a really good twist ending in my book. So yeah, if you guys want to read this book for yourselves, I highly recommend it. 10 out of 10. Would read again if I wanted to. But now, the rating. Initially, I would have rated it a PG-13, but with how they describe everything that happens at the end, with Sam Blake's death as well as that of Amanda's, I honestly don't know if it's worth the PG-13 rating, because I feel like it's like where it's violent enough to where it could probably be given an R rating with those two scenes, but they don't happen until near the end. So, would that amount to a PG-13 rating? I don't know. I got a lot to think about on this one. But I could say it would probably be a PG-13 or rated R. Definitely for sure if I had to say which one it would be. Because I know it definitely would not be PG. Not even close. Not even close. But now, one story has ended. I'm putting this in my box of books. And another, next week, will begin. So the question is, which book am I going to be reading next week? Well, do we have any Legend of Zelda fans in the house? Because it is the 2-part manga of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And I have shown this book off before, because there was a moment in this book that I shown off but I never gained the full context behind it. But this is gonna be interesting because unlike Heartstopper, this is a book. This is a Japanese book, so it is going to be it's going to be read from right to left. So yeah, that's going to be fun. Normally, our books would be like this, where the back is the front and the front is the back. But here, since it's Japanese, it's going to be read. Let me just give you a bit of a preview here. It's going to be read from. It's going to be read like right up here, all the way to down here, and it keeps going that way. And I remember there used to be all these mangas that would tell you, you're reading this the wrong way. Hey, you're opening the wrong side of the book if you're trying to read it like a regular American book. Yeah, this is the wrong way. Also, by the way, if you must know, here's how you read the mangas, and it literally gives you a visual representation on how to read it. It's really funny. But yeah, so our next book is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the manga. So if you've read the manga, good on you. If you haven't, even better. Especially for the Link and Zelda fans, because this book is going to have a few of those moments. But that is next week. Tomorrow night, I will be going live, and when I say tomorrow night, it's likely already midnight by now, but I'm still saying. Tomorrow night, I will be going live with Crash Bandicoot 2. So yeah, looking forward to that one. But for now, let's celebrate a good book and the start of another one. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. I would have to give my props to Teresa Driscoll for a really good, well-made, well-written book. But in either case, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, this is Forrest Walpole, signing off. There we go.